feels awesome.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. I need to send you a voice note. You're 5'1" projector, which is cool. I'm a 5'1", so I'll send you a
Mm.
voice note sometime if I remember to do so, but it's really helpful and
Feels awesome.
I'm sure you'll gain some benefit
Awesome,
from this
dude.
too.
Yeah. I need to send you a voice note. You're a
Cool.
5'1" projector, which is cool.
Get some feedback
That
there.
was some lag. I don't know. That sounded like it was coming through Keegan's.
Yeah, I just hit the YouTube and didn't hit the pause silence on it. So I'm gonna hit record here and get into it. We can continue the discussion. Human design, exploring yourself, using some of the tools to understand yourself is a proven valuable thing to do. All recruitment agencies use this. Most professional sporting teams are profiling the psychology of their players, definitely profiling psychology when employing people and putting them together in teams. So there's no question that this is a valuable thing to dive into, although most people haven't really been that deep to understand their own profiles. The introvert extrovert is probably the most commonly understood idea, and I was aware of that to some degree as a child. But there are levels of depth of understanding of self. I went much deeper on this. I used color code and dot test. It's probably the time in elite sport where I went deeper on it. But then working with Paul, we went much deeper. When I first spoke to him, I'd done my genius typing test and my spiral, and I didn't really take it that seriously when I filled out the surveys. I just filled them out as best I could, but without thinking there was going to be anything valuable come out of it. Then I went on a call with him and he understood me better than I understood myself. And it was a very impactful call. And I wanted to work with him. I asked him, how does it work to work with you? And it was me initiating that we could do something else, which eventually led to Elite Money Club and Gen Freedom, which Max did. And now the Uncommon Money Club, which we're about to start again and go through that experience. Self-knowledge is a huge part of this. And there are some levels of it that are innate, like understanding what you've been gifted, and then there's how you can use what you've been gifted. So whatever your style is or whatever you learn from this system of human design, or even with the other ones that are more self-reported, there's always a thing of how are you going to use this. In the genius typing, it's like you're the driver of a car and you get to figure out whether it's the 5-year-old who's directing the car from the back seat, or whether it's your naturally best driver, whether you're using your co-pilot. And so all of this is about understanding yourself better, making the most of your natural gifts. We are very different. We are definitely gifted with different things. We are all valuable and we all have a role to play. Figuring out which role you can play best is important. If you're on a rugby team and you decide, I'm going to be the prop because I want to be the prop, but you're naturally thin, then it's going to be a bad day. It's not going to be successful. You're not going to enjoy it. Where if you're much more skillful, you like directing things, you're a smaller guy, then you're going to have a different position on the field, on the team. This is the next level for us in Uncommon Success, to understand better who we are and how we can apply who we are to the brotherhood. If you can be valuable, I've been saying this since the start of Uncommon Success. If you can express value here, if you're valuable to the other brothers, life will be easy for you because it's the same world out there. It's just a little bit more difficult to get the value out. I spoke to a man this morning who's made $5,000-$10,000 sales. He made them within a certain network that he's in, and he's not making any sales outside of that. And I'm just helping him to understand it's different when you're in a high trust environment. There's extra opportunity in a high trust environment. So we have this hyper trust community where it's easy to get started on things. It's easy to express your value. If you don't have value to express here, okay, that's where you're at. This talk today is part of the journey to understanding more of your value and being able to express that and being able to find what's uniquely yours. I appreciate the effort you've put into this process so far, Lion, in going through this with me. Chandler, who's also jumping in for this call shortly, he also really challenged me of you need to go deeper with this. And so it's been super valuable for me to understand it more. And we've been going deeper with the team. And today's another step in that direction. So thank you for putting this together for us. I should also intro Lion here a bit. That was intro to the human design, but Lion was the first pro. He's the first guy to say, yep, this makes sense. I'm in. Let's do this. I'd been following his stuff on social media for many years before this. I'd seen the changes and journey that he'd been on. It was a real honor and excitement to see, okay, a guy that I've seen out there with a big following. He's done a bunch of stuff. Good athlete, wants to join this. This is really cool. And that helped me to energize this idea of like stepping up the level of the community. Since then, we've been planning to get together face to face. That happened in the Mexico village. We thought it might happen in Montenegro or Vanuatu early on, but we got some time together in Mexico. Lion had a great time, and I had a great time together, you know, making a handstand video, and he showed my children how to play the handpan, and we had all kinds of fun, played some poker with my children. And yeah, it's been a good journey so far to get to know each other, and I appreciate the opportunity to learn more about the human design today. So welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, Keegan. That was an amazing intro, both to human design and myself, and it's a pleasure to be here. It really is. It's a manifestation of mine, being a manifester myself. You know, being at the village and then being able to present something that I'm deeply passionate about, and that's helped my life and my business immensely. So thank you for that introduction. So gentlemen, before we get started, I'm going to honor something within myself. Let's take a couple of deep breaths. I do instruct breath work, and it helps me to calm myself down because, you know, you get into the nerves. So just close your eyes. If you're not seated or you're driving right now, don't do the breathing. Just inviting you to close your eyes, get grounded into your body. We're just going to take a couple deep breaths to ground our energy into this container. So inviting you to exhale out all of your air. Take a nice deep breath as big as you can. A little more. Hold the breath. And then big exhale, make a sound. We're going to do 2 more. So nice deep breath as big as you can. Dip in a little more. Hold the breath. Big exhale, make a sound. Okay, last one. Nice deep breath in. A little more. Hold the breath a little longer this time. Feel that tension in the body rise. 3, 2, 1, big exhale. Beautiful. Taking a moment just to feel into your body, allowing that energy to shift from whatever you were doing to what we're doing now, asking for your full presence. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Amazing. Thank you, gentlemen. So I'm going to share my screen here. I got a lot to present to you today, and I got about 20 minutes. So we're going to go as quick as possible. And there will be, let's see, some opportunity for questions at the end.
Yeah, don't hurry, man. Like, it's a guideline, but just, yeah.
Okay,
Go.
cool.
Go how you need to go.
Okay, fantastic. So when I was introduced this opportunity, I wanted to present something that you could use from the system. The system is really complex. So I called this presentation, The Utility of Human Design for the Uncommon Man. I believe we're all uncommon men here. We're all doing things in a different way. We're upholding that value of challenging ourselves and bringing forward solutions in the world. So that is the point of this presentation, is to give you utility from this very complex system. I'm also going to give you a little dive into what the system is and make a case for why I think it should be used. So as Keegan said, my name is Lion Carew, and I'm the president of Human Potential Academy. And Human Potential Academy is a wellness brokerage and also a coaching academy. So let's dive in here. Oh, that's the wrong slide. Let's go back. Here we go. So what is human design? It's a profound system because it combines many other systems that have been used for a long, long time. We have the I Ching, astrology, the Kabbalah tree of life, the chakra system, and quantum physics. All of that is funneled down into the body graph and what's called the Rave mandala. Can you guys see my mouse, by the way? Is that something you can see? Fantastic, cool. I'm going to point at a lot of stuff. So all of those systems are combined into this one picture here, this mandala. If you go around this first outer edge, you can see the zodiac signs. The outer line from there are the gates, which are in connection to the hexagrams of the I Ching. And then all of that energy is funneling into the body graph, where the chakra systems are represented by the energy centers. The Kabbalah tree of life is represented by the channels that are connecting the energy centers. And although you can't see this, the quantum physics aspect takes into consideration what's called the neutrino field, which is energy emitted from stars. Now, I don't have nearly enough time to really go into what all those things are, but now you have a bit of an understanding of why the system is so complex and how it's very useful because it's incredibly specific. So how I've already addressed this pretty much. Like the problem is like being introduced to the system it's really difficult to understand. Like how do you get a grasp? Anyone who I've mentioned it to, I'm like, oh, it's a combination of this and this and this. And this is usually the face that I get when I'm introducing it to them. One does not simply understand human design without extreme trials and tribulations. And my aim is to hopefully bring some of those trials and tribulations to a reduced point. So how I like to see the system is it's really just an in-depth look at your current avatar. If you will, for a moment, this body that you're in, you could say it's a vehicle, it's a mechanism from which a lot of energy is being brought forward. So it's like a vehicle. Think of it as a vehicle. Once you understand your avatar, once you understand this vehicle, you're better suited to play the game. And it's a way for you to get a leg up on the game of life. So that's a easier way to think of it. Let's move this for a sec here. So yes, the system is incredibly complex, but you can start to use it with some simple beginning understandings. And that's really my mission. I want to give you some simple, practical ways to use the system for both yourself and as you connect with others in Uncom and your communities. So you can use it directly after this presentation, and hopefully you can use it in connection with other people. So by the end of the presentation, you'll have a clear path to living into your strategy and authority. Those are the two main things I'm going to hit on. To see the unique value in each design, lending to more collaboration and co-creation. Get to peek behind the culturally programmed veil of efficiency. Like, what does it actually mean to be efficient within a work context? And how have we been programmed to think in a certain way? And to see more ways to co-create solutions with men in Uncom based on your design. This is one of the bigger ones I'm excited about, is how will it change our community now that we use this system, or if we choose to use it? So why should you care? Why should you even care? Isn't this just a bunch of woo-woo spiritual nonsense? If you're like me, you're into the woo-woo and you've grounded yourself in that. And if you're not like me, that's okay. I want to make a case as to why we should use this, or why is it grounded in some sort of, like let's say scientific basing, or how can we actually ground this into reality? So I'll make two cases. One more slide. I'm not here to convince you. The system really does prove itself. So what I would encourage, and I will encourage at the end, is just learn the system and take some data. Got to experiment in life. But let's look at some points that ground the case for human design as a tool for optimizing your life and your work and your relationships. So case number one is the moon, and not just the moon, all the planets. But as we all know, the moon affects the tides. As the moon moves around the Earth, it affects the moving of the tides. And all the planets are going to have effect on our Earth and ourselves. So I think it's a bit myopic to think that if the moon is having an effect on the tides, what kind of effect is that having on our body? What kind of effect is that having on our system? And the position of the moon and the other planets when you're born, what kind of effect is that having on your body? So case number one. This one's a little bit more complicated, so just buckle your seatbelt for this for a moment. If it doesn't all make sense, it's okay. I'm sure you guys will get access to these slides. So case number two is the very fascinating connection between the I Ching, which is one of the main components of the system, and our DNA. So I have a quote up here from Jan J, 1995, biomathematics derived from the I Ching. The quote is, both systems have 64 combinations, triple base genetic codons, and hexagrams from the I Ching. So if you look at the I Ching over here, this is 64 hexagrams. The hexagrams are each of these blocks of lines, and each of them has 6 lines. It is believed, this was believed to have been written by Hu He, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, around 10,000 BCE. And it just so happens that when DNA was first decrypted or deciphered, there's also 64 codons of DNA in 6 amino acid groups, 3 essential and 3 non-essential. So how is it that, all this time apart, this book, this ancient Chinese text, knew all along how many codons of DNA and amino acid groups there were? Very, very interesting. The reason I think there's this connection is because of one of the Hermetic principles, one of the laws that basically explains how everything in the universe is in communication with everything else, that there is a correspondence between that which is macro and that which is micro. So if we look here, as above, so below, as above, so below. The Kybalion, you may have heard this before, and what this really means is this principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and the phenomenon of various planes of being in life. So essentially, it's just saying that what's going on in the universe is going on in your body. What's going on in your body is going on in the soil. It's all just variations of the same thing over and over and over again in different degrees. So as above, so below, as below, so above. All right, enough foreplay. Let's get into the juicy stuff. So now that this stage is set, let's just jump into this idea that, well, one of the reasons I think human design is so powerful is it challenges a current program. And I believe we've all been programmed into this, that we have to start the thing, and that we have to hustle, and that if you don't get out there and you don't get it, and you don't make it happen, then you're a failure in this life, especially as a man. Now, I'm not saying to not go out there and do stuff. That's not what I'm saying in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying to go out there and take action. What I am saying, though, is not everyone is designed to build it, and not everyone is designed to start it. And that there are a few designs that have amazing capacity to do other things, that if they're given that capacity, everything works in more harmony. So let's challenge this programming in this. So I'm sure some of you realize all like this by now, that it's not that simple. We're not all meant to hustle. We're not all meant to build it. We're not all meant to start it. We're all unique. As Keegan said at the beginning of the presentation, we all have something of deep value to offer when we know ourselves. And on Calm, that's one of the coolest things, is we're really perpetuating ourselves to get to know each other and what it means for us as individuals and as a community. So my question from all this is, what is the optimal role of your unique avatar, of your unique vehicle? So let's start to look at that through the context of human design. Our main characters here, or the types, are the manifestor, projector, generator, and reflector. I want to go over the auras of them, so you understand how they're going about and connecting to one another, and how their roles are identified. And this system is based on these energy types that we can't see. Like, you can't see the aura. I mean, some people say they can. These things aren't seen. It's a nonverbal form of communication, but it's an important baseline for us to understand how these types are communicating and why they have specific roles. So starting from left to right, we have the manifestor. I'm a manifestor, and me doing this, I'm like really living into my role. I'm informing you all, and I'm initiating, and me sharing human design is honestly living in my role. Like, I've initiated a lot of guys into taking action from this place, but the aura here, you can see it's closed and repelling. And because of that closed and repelling aura, manifestors have an ability to spark change and create things. Their energy is kind of felt in a room, and they're able to speak things into action. So manifestors are here to initiate. Over to the right here, the projector, they're here to direct and guide. I believe they're the new leaders of the earth, and they have an energy that's very focused and absorbing. So they take in a lot of energy from around them, and they are able to offer really interesting guidance. The generators are the most common, but don't be fooled by the name. Like, just being the most common doesn't make them any less special. They're literally the life force energy of the type. So they have a very open and enveloping aura. That's really important. So remember that. It's very magnetic. It's very encompassing. And the generators are here, both manifesting generators and generators. They're here to build the thing. They're here to create it. They're literally the life force energy of all the types. And then furthest to the right, let's go back. We have the reflectors. The most rare type, they're here to reflect and assess things. They're like really incredibly wise people who are kind of like the litmus test of humans. They have a resistant and sampling aura. So even though all of their energy centers are open, they do have a bit of a protective shield around them. They're always sampling energy, and they're kind of like a mirror. They're here to be wise guides, in my opinion. So now that this stage is set, I'm going to dive a bit more deeply into each type. And this is where we're going to go into the strategy and authority. So if you actually, maybe at this point, everyone could type in, if you know your type, that'd be really cool. If you know you're like a manifestor or a projector or a generator or reflector, maybe just type that into the chat. That'd be cool. It's because I want to get a sense. Cool. Projector, manifesting, nice. If you know a bunch about human design, this might be stuff that you've heard before, but it's always good to hear more of it and see it from a different view. Nice, we got some projectors. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, we got one manifestor, nice. Okay, well, yeah, just pay attention. What I want to offer you here is the strategy again and how you're going to guide yourself through your inner authority. So let's get into it. So we're starting off with the manifestor, 9 to 10% of the population. Again, they have that repelling aura. As I mentioned previously, the strategy, the way for a manifestor to go about in their life is to inform and initiate things. Really, it's the manifestor's job in a community or in the world to start it. And in my story, like when I found this out, I was like, whoa, I'm like out of alignment. No wonder I'm getting so pissed off at people and myself all the time because I was waiting for shit to happen in my life. But in this system, the manifestor is the one who's really supposed to initiate things. They're best suited for that. Their authority, there's 3 options that they have. When I say authority, what I mean is like the thing that we're really supposed to listen to. You know, there's all these outer authorities in life, like the news or president or whomever, your father, whatever. In the human design system, the authority is your inner guidance. And interestingly enough, there is no authority that is the mind. No design is supposed to make a choice from the mind, okay? So the inner authority options for the manifestor are the spleen, which is a very in the now type of authority. The spleen is connected to survival instinct. So basically, I'm a splenic manifestor. The way I go about things is as long as things are feeling good in my body, it's good to go. I just live in the moment. If I feel this kind of primal fear sense, it's just a uncomfortable feeling. That's a warning for me to not do that thing. And it's not verbal. There's no like communication. It's just like, don't do that. So this is an interesting authority to work with. If you're splenic and you want to go deeper into that, send me a message. Solar plexus. There's a lot of people who have a emotional authority, manifestors, generators. We'll go into that in a moment. This authority essentially means it's best for you to wait until you're not in an emotional state to make a decision. You're supposed to ride out those emotions prior to making a choice and really honor the wave of emotion prior to making a choice. And if you're a manifestor, it just means you got to be a little bit more patient before you initiate, inform, and make your decisions. The most rare authority for a manifestor is ego, or I have articulation here. So ego is the heart center. And the ego manifestor, we actually have one in Uncom, Sebastian Hilton. And it's best that an ego manifestor speaks themselves forward so they can understand what they want. And they're being directed by their desires. It's best for them to speak it out so they can understand what it is that they want in life. The programming that I see in manifestors is this: if I don't finish what I'm doing, then I'm a failure. And that's not to say like I can't finish stuff, but like as a manifestor, my power comes from being able to initiate things and start things and having a massive impact. I'm not here to finish it. I'm here to inspire others and then find other people who can help me finish the project. Let's move on. Okay, this is a lot of text. I'm going to try and get through this as much as possible. Each type has an in alignment proclivity. Let's say when you're in alignment, when you're in your design, there's an emotion associated, and then there's like a not self theme. So the proper self being in alignment, and when you're not living into your design. For a manifestor, it's peace. You feel at peace. Manifestors just want to do what they want to do. They don't want to be bothered. So it's this feeling of peace when you're informing. When I'm not informing and not initiating, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to cause other people to be angry. So the overview here of the manifestor: here to start the project, not here to finish the project. Big bursts of energy and also dips in energy. Massive, massive impact and doesn't like being told what to do. Pretty hyper independent. Tips for manifestors: if you're a manifestor, I would advise start informing before taking action. So just because you can start it, tell people before you do something. They're going to really respect that, and they're really going to appreciate it, and you're going to not piss as many people off. Doesn't mean you won't face a lot of resistance. You just face less resistance. And as manifestors, we want to do what we want, but and you can still do what you want, but starting to inform people before you take action will create more harmony in your life. Stop waiting for others to make things happen. It really is your job to start things. Start working with others who you can impact and who you can inspire to build your dreams alongside you. Like one of the greatest things I did was have a team beside me, because now I can inspire my team and they help me build. It's amazing. It's the greatest thing ever. Also, stop worrying about if it makes sense. Like being a manifester, you're an innovator. So just do your thing and be inspired by yourself. Go out there and do weird stuff and don't try to conform to other people's ideas. If you're working with a manifester, so other types, if you're a generator, if you're a projector, if you're a reflector, listen to this. Do encourage them to initiate the project and take the lead. Like if you're working with them, like get them to initiate things, get them to inform, encourage their informing. Don't expect them to always follow a rigid schedule, like a 9 to 5. They're not going to do well with that. Do allow them the space to be spontaneous and like make decisions as per their spontaneity. Try not to micromanage them or overly restrict their freedom. Give them space to ebb and flow with their energy. They're going to have massive peaks of energy and then also dips of energy. Okay, moving on, the generator. I will go over the manifesting generator as well, but just so you're all aware, the generator is one type. So manifesting generator and generator, they're both the same energy type. Just the manifesting generator has a bit of a different quality. But let's start with the generator. 38% of the population, remember they have that very enveloping, encompassing magnetic aura. That aura gives them the strategy of responding. And a lot of people find that confusing. It's like, what does that even mean for me to respond? What it means is that as a generator, you have your sacral center turned on. Imagine it's like a huge magnet and you're literally pulling everything towards you. Like everything's coming towards you in life. And it's your job to respond to those things, to feel, is that really what I want to do? Not for my mind, but for my body. And then respond to that, trusting that things are coming towards you. So moving into that, like how to respond, there's these options for the generator. But the generator, the reason I underline the sacral is because the generator is always going to have access to the sacral intuition, which is usually verbalized as like, or like, or there's like this sound associated to it. So if you are a generator, it's good for you to vocalize like, yeah, I really like that. No, it's not for me. And to get in connection to that. It's not something of the mind. It's just very in the moment. It's a feeling in your body. It's that gut feeling. Learning to respond from that gut feeling. There are generators that can be also, they can have an inner authority that's associated to the emotional solar plexus. So what that means is once you've gotten that sacral feeling, you're just going to want to wait it out a little bit to ensure, like once the emotional wave has leveled out, then you would want to make your choice. Or if you're splenic, just means you have a little bit more of an intuitive sense and you might get these like survival kind of intuitive hits warning you about things. But the sacral is really important. All generators have access to that and should be verbalizing, verbalizing, you're like, yeah, I want to do that, and making it a vocal thing. The programming that I see for generators is I must start the project or it won't get done. So the irony with a lot of these, or the paradox with these types, is that like the generator can like build the thing, like has all the energy in the world to build it. And that gives them the sense they think they need to start it, or like, I got to make this thing happen. I got to force it. It's usually like a disaster if a generator is just like going about trying to start all the shit. Get super frustrated. So I must start the project or else it won't get done. If I don't make it happen, it's not going to get done. Learning to wait until there's something to respond to. So just like the manifester, the generator has two states. When in alignment, when living in your design, there's this deep sense of satisfaction in your work. Like you're satisfied by all the things you get to do. Or just frustrated, super frustrated with like shit's just not working out. Energy's feeling low. An overview of the generator, they're here to do that or do the thing, like really build the project. They're the ones that are going to build it. They're not here to initiate the project. It's best that they're not initiating things. They have consistent access to energy when they're listening to authority. So that's really, really important, brothers, that a generator is not just like here to do everything. They're here to do things that feel aligned for them. So they got to use their authority before they jump into a project. They're here to be the masters of their craft. Like they're really the masters of doing things. And they're here to do what they love, not just be like a workhorse slave. So tips for generators, if you're a generator, start learning to wait until you have something to respond to. And when I say respond, I mean like everything. The sun hits your face and you're like, that feels good. I'm going to go outside. Or like you smell something like some food. No, I don't want to eat that. Like literally everything in life is something to respond to. It's not just humans. Try to feel into your gut feeling. to learn how to respond. Stop using your mind to make choices. I know that's a hard one, but if you start overthinking, like, oh, does this make sense for me? Like, this project, that person, do I really want to work with them? Try to honor the initial gut feeling, or if you're an emotional authority, wait till the emotions subside. Just try to start using your body instead of your mind to make your decisions. The mind is a whole different thing in human design. I don't have enough time to go over that, but it's not meant for making decisions. Start doing more of what you love. You'll get more energy as a generator when you do more of what you love. So you can build more and more energy when you're doing the things that you really, really enjoy. And then stop forcing things to happen. Just because you have all the energy in the world doesn't mean you can like force yourself upon a project. There is a refinement of being a generator to learn like what is the thing that you're really here to build. So if you're working with a generator, what I'd recommend is ask them yes or no questions. This has been absolutely life-changing for me. I asked my co-founder, Matthew, yes or no questions instead of open-ended questions. I just get him into a still state and I just ask him like, do you want to work with this person? Yes or no? Do you want to have this many people in the course? Yes or no? Do you want to write this section of the ebook? Yes or no? Do you want to scale a solution like this? Yes or no? And it's a really, really amazing, and it's very, very easy for them. And yeah, I find it's an amazing strategy. So you ask them yes or no questions, and it helps them to get connected to that sacral energy. Don't assign them monotonous or repetitive tasks without any creative input. Again, they're not just workhorses, right? Give them an ability to be creative to a degree. Allow them the space to explore different approaches and methods to accomplish their tasks. So even though they have a lot of energy, like give them some flex so they can figure out what their flow is. Like, how are they going to do their generating, And don't underestimate the importance of their gut instincts. Like I said, they have a really deep intuitive sense. So going to a generator that you trust to figure out a direction is a valuable asset. Alrighty. How's everyone doing? A lot of information. We only got a few more. The projector. This is actually probably my favorite, and I'm super stoked because Chandler's a projector, and I think he's going to be able to offer some really, really unique insights after I share all this and after I kind of initiate you all through this these slides. So the projector is, in my opinion, like the new leader. Before I get ahead of myself, 20% of the population, they're absorbing energy, but they're also focused. So if you're a projector, you're probably like really tuning into what I'm saying right now, and you're taking in a bunch of things that most people wouldn't. The strategy for the projector, it's always paradoxical, is to wait for the invitation. Like the projector may have the most unique view, and they're like, I want to share and I want to tell like this unique, awesome thing I have to offer, but it's learning to wait for the invitation, and I'll explain why in a moment. They are the type that has the most unique array of inner authorities. So emotional solar plexus, just like the ones before, waiting to ride out the emotional wave. The spleen, which is in the moment, living in the moment. Then they also have self-projected, which is very interesting. It's just listening to what they say and like observing them own self, being directed by their own self and their own nature. I think Chandler is actually a self-projected projector, so maybe he can explain what that's like in his experience. They also have a heart or ego inner authority. So it's like, what do I want? And being driven by what they want, by their desire. And then mental environment. We do have a projector in the community who's mental and environment, and that the inner authority is actually being in their environment, taking it in, taking in that energy, sampling it, and then being amongst trusted friends and allies, and using them as a soundboard to get a sense of how they're feeling in that environment, what that environment means for them, and if they want to actually work in that environment and with those people. The programming for a projector that I see is I must work harder to be recognized. The projector has a really unique view, and oftentimes they think like, if I just work harder, if I just put more energy into this, I'm going to be seen for the value that I have. So I just need to do more and more and more and more, which is the programming like I mentioned before. It's actually the opposite for the projector. So let's dive into success versus bitterness for the projector. When in alignment, when in the design, when a projector is working in their design, they're going to feel success in and of themselves, and they're going to create success for the team because they're the guy. And if they don't, they're just going to feel bitter, and people are going to feel bitter towards them. This like bitterness, like screw these people, they don't know, whatever. The overview is they're here to guide. So the manifestor is here to start, generator is here to build, and then they're here to guide. They're not here to build or force their view on others. That's really, really key here. Not here to build or force their view on others. The projector is a non-energy type. So they need time to learn, and they need time to study the things they're interested in and people, so that they can be wise with their energy and with the offering of their guidance. I think they're the leaders of the new earth. I think that it's really important for them. Oh yeah, they're natural at studying, like studying information, studying people, and they should rest a lot so that when they are invited into things, they have the energy to offer. So even though they're not normal energy types, when they are invited and they accept that invitation, they're going to amplify all the energy of the people they're around and probably have more energy than most of the energy types, because they're taking all that energy and amplifying it for everyone else. So tips for projectors: if you're a projector, start leading yourself first. So just going back here, let's see if I can go back. People ask me, like, if I'm a projector, like, what do? I just wait around and do nothing? No, definitely not. Don't wait around and do nothing. Be a leader upon yourself. Embody all the knowledge that you have and be a leader upon yourself, and then wait for people to invite you in. If you demonstrate your wisdom and you share that through a platform or a scale solution or something, people will definitely invite you in. Embody the leadership, embody the guidance, embody all that wisdom that you see, and people will invite you in. Doesn't mean you have to build all that stuff. Just share your information. Stop trying to keep up with everyone else's work output. You don't need to do that. Start studying your area of interest and studying people. Like, if you can become a good guide, like if you can understand the nature of people and how to solve their problems, then you don't have to do the work anymore, because you're going to offer them a guide and a way to solve problems that they'll never even know. And then the generator can build that, and the manifestor can initiate it. And stop shaming yourself for needing lots of rest. Like, projectors just need a lot of rest. I work with a projector. I'm always like, take a nap, stop working, which is a weird thing in our culture, right? Like telling people like to not work as much. But how valuable would it be to have someone come in and offer you a path that's like way less stressful if they don't work as much? For me, I think it's incredibly valuable. I'd rather have the projector take a nap and then offer a solution than work them into the ground and then they're bitter and they can't do anything. So if you're working with a projector, do invite them in and recognize their unique insights and perspectives on a project. Like, they need to be invited. Don't expect them to come to you. Don't overwhelm them with excessive demands and expectations without considering their energy. Like, hey, how are you doing? Like, do you have the energy for this? Can you work on this thing? Do involve them in strategy sessions and planning. Like, the projector, who's the co-founder of my business, I don't make a choice unless she looks at it. Like, literally, I'm just like, what do you think? Because every time she sees something that I don't, and it's worth it every time. And don't disregard their need for recognition and validation. They're not building the thing, so it really pays off if you remind them, like, hey, I know you're not building it, but like without you, we wouldn't have been here. And just reminding them of how powerful their view is and how amazing their guidance is, because they might not see the results that a generator sees. I think I missed a slide here. I just want to go back. Oh yeah, okay, sorry guys. Backtracking here, I skipped over the manifesting generator, so let's just come back for a sec. So that was all of the projector. I just want to come back. Trailing back here into generator mode. I don't want to miss it. This is important. So the generator, yes, energy type, manifesting generator, it's still a generator, but I want to be really clear because there are quite a few manifesting generators in the community and in the world. 32% of the population. Generators make up 70% of the population, right? On the right here, I've laid out a pretty simple way for a manifesting generator to live their life in an optimal way. First, vision. And actually, I see Keegan doing this a lot, which is like really exciting. I think Keegan's like a shining example of being a great manifesting generator. Vision, clear vision, responding to something that feels in alignment, and then informing. A lot of people think that being a manifesting generator means like you're a generator and you're a manifestor. It's not what it is. You're a generator that once you've responded, once you feel lit up about something, then you inform those around you to create shortcuts and solutions. That's really what it's about for a manifesting generator. There we go. So the overview here is that they can inform after responding. It's really, really important. There's that sacral alignment. There's that like, to something in life, and then you're informing. Hopefully you're informing a team, or you're telling people, you're initiating them to continue the project, which Keegan is clearly doing. Multitaskers, they're here to find shortcuts, like here to build, but also to find shortcuts. Balancing authorities between sacral and emotional. So there's this kind of ebb and flow between that intuitive, but also being a little patient and letting the emotional waves ride out before you make a hasty decision. And I see the manifesting generators here to live into all their passions and create lots of stuff. Like manifesting generators should be doing lots of things, like getting their hands dirty and creating lots of things and doing the things they love, like being fully involved in those things and having lots of people around them to support that. So tips, do listen to your gut feelings to make choices, just like a generator. Don't try to start something before responding, just like a generator. Like try to respond to something first. And then once you've responded, then you can start initiating within that response. Do ferociously go out after what lights you up. Like do the thing you love the most. Everyone's going to benefit from that. And don't force yourself to follow a linear sequential path. So I've seen manifesting generators that kind of like skip ahead and like maybe they make a mistake and like they're like, this isn't like the normal process, but that's totally fine. I think they're all over the place generally, and that's okay. It's like be in that messy process. So working with a manifesting generator, do offer them the ability to multitask and juggle multiple projects. Like they can handle that and make sure it's stuff they love, but they're the ones who can multitask really well. Don't expect them to follow a linear or sequential approach to tasks. Just allow them to do it in their own non-linear way. Do encourage them to leverage their ability to initiate and follow through on ideas. So once they've responded, like get them to initiate some things and just check in on them that they're following through on their ideas and they're really generating those things. And lastly, like don't underestimate the importance of like communicating with them and getting feedback and encouraging them, like letting them know like, hey, you did a really good job here. Like all this stuff you're creating is actually pretty amazing. And having a good line of communication, because a manifesting generator is like a self-sustained machine. Like they can just go and go and go and do so many things. And if they don't have that back and forth communication, they may not realize like how much they're creating or how much stuff is going on. So having a projector around to kind of guide them a little bit and be like, yo, like maybe focus a little bit more on this, or like this is getting messy. That can be really helpful for a manifesting generator. Okay. Last one. This is the most unique one, and I'm excited to share this with you guys because I feel like I've gotten a decent sense on the reflector and their role. We have a reflector, one that I know of in the community. So the reflector is the most uncommon type, 1% of the population. And their strategy is really just all around the moon. It's really peculiar. They have like a very resistant aura. They're supposed to wait for a lunar cycle, and their inner authority, what they're listening to is honestly just, again, it's just waiting for the moon to go through its phases. They're really, really connected to the transits as the planets move through the cosmos. And because of that, basically, as the planets move through the cosmos, the rave mandala that I was showing you, different things start to get activated, like different centers get activated, different channels get activated. And the reflector has ability to tap into that. So they actually have an ability to tap into every type. And they also have the ability to take in like all the energy from around us. So they're really, really good at sampling the community. And after the amount of time, after they've processed all that information, they can tell us how things are going. They're incredibly wise people. The programming they have is like, I have no place in the world. Like, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? I don't have a place here. Well, yeah, it's hard for a reflector. They don't like have anything defined within them. They're here to like sample everything and give us a view of like, how is everything going, essentially. So when they're in alignment, they're going to have this like feeling of awe, like, wow, like life is actually pretty incredible. And if they're not living in alignment, they're just going to feel pretty disappointed and shitty. The overview for them, they're here to tell us how things are going, basically. Like, is it going well? Is it not going well? And that's why I think it's so valuable to have them in a community. They're the slowest, but the wisest types. They're most connected to the moon and the planets. All of their energy centers are undefined, and they're constantly reflecting back your energy in the environment and the transits. I messed that one up there. Tips: start developing a relationship with the moon and the planets so you can get a sense of like what's going on in the transits, so you know what you're embodying, what energy you're taking in. Stop allowing others to motivate and drive you. Like, if you're a reflector, just don't worry about like what other people are doing. Just take your time. Start finding your community and tribe. you can only really take your time if you have other people who see the value in what you have to offer. So it's important to have a support, good community around you because you're not an energy type. And stop feeling the need to be around others all the time. Like solo time is important so you can like decompress all that energy. If you are working with a reflector, just provide them a lot of time and space to make their decisions. Try not to be too hasty with them or like judging of how much time it takes them to do their reflection. Create a supporting environment that allows them to reflect and be in their process because they will be able to offer some deep bars, some deep wisdom. And yeah, just don't undervalue their wisdom and their ability to sense into the health of the community. Like they're really tapped into the health of the community if they're doing the work on themselves. Ooh, okay, now we've got all those types. I know there's a lot. Last thing I want to offer you guys, especially those who are in Uncom, it's just a call to action. So on a personal level, take some data over the next 90 days and live into your strategy and your authority. So live into the strategy that is of your energy type and use your authority to make your decisions. Just take the data, see it as a game, see how it works for you. It's all just a game. If you're in Uncom, we have the ability now to look at each other's type and our authority. And I would encourage you to get on calls with other players and speak to them and connect to them using the system. So for example, if you're having a call with a generator, like ask them yes or no questions, encourage them to use their sacral intuition. Don't expect a projector to initiate, like invite them into your project or the co-creation or the call, or whatever it is you're doing. If you're a manifester, like you should be initiating stuff, like have more calls with people, start things, share your ideas with the community, and invite the reflector to offer their view and their wisdom. All right, gentlemen, that's all I have for you. Thank you. Questions, and thanks for the extra time. I really appreciate it.
That was awesome. Keegan, you have anything to say?
Yeah, lots to discuss and dive in on, but I think is we should continue on with Chandler and hit the discussions.
Yeah, let's get him in. Yeah, thank you.
If you can put your camera on for the start here, guys, it's Chandler's welcome to the network. We've been discussing things over the last few months after introduction from a mutual friends. We caught up for cigars in Florida. It's one of the few times I've had cigars. I've had a few in my life, but got up there and had a good time, good conversation. Had a few hours just nonstop going through journeys of life. And when Chandler recommended I jump into the book Traction to understand more about business structure, it really impacted the way I understand working with teams in business. It's a big process and lots to do there. But because that recommendation was so powerful, when he mentioned human design, I decided to finally go into it. I've heard it a few times before, including my wife for the first time I heard about it. But yeah, going into it deeper more recently has been because of the influence of Chandler. So thank you so much for joining us today to share here. Chandler's run lots of high ticket events. He's launching a product around how to be able to run high ticket events, which is actually really the next thing after Scale Solutions, is like get some people together face to face, because that's the best part. It doesn't have to be a high ticket event, but Chandler's also going to be a go-to resource for us about bringing people together. For those who are suited for that, maybe you guys can tell me more about who's going to get the best buzz out of live events. But yeah, welcome, Chandler. Over to you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. We got to get you on some more cigars. I just beefed up my collection. What's up, guys? Super big pleasure to be here. Thank you for possibly some of the sound pollution leniency that I may have going on in the background. End up popping up at a little coffee shop real quick. But human design has been one of those elements that has really supercharged a lot of my businesses. And so for a little bit of a context, I built 2 multi-million-dollar businesses and exited them and sold them before 30. I'm 34 now, or 33 now. And I am currently working on a project that it's quite large. We're an international company. Right now, the organization has around 30 different employees. We're purchasing properties all over the world and basically building self-sustaining, self-resilient properties. So they're all inclusive of your food, water, energy, and shelter. And I have discovered utilizing not only human design, but a couple other personality tests, I'm able to really tap into the superpower of humans in general. And, thank you, Lion, for dropping in with all of that wisdom and the slides and the presentation, the thought, and just the intention and purity that you put into your presentation. I was over here geeking out as well. So my level of knowledge and wisdom inside of human design isn't nearly to the extent of what it sounds like that you're embodying. And I absolutely love that. And so I'm a 2/4 self-projected projector. I know enough of what I am and who I need around me to get the job done and to really be able to move the ship forward. And so when you can understand what your superpowers are, when you can understand how you operate, it can allow you to be humble and to really surround yourself with powerhouses. And so one of my sayings that I always really lean into is power is proximity. Proximity is power. And who you surround yourself with is is basically like how you're going to evolve into. It's like the osmosis effect. If you're surrounded by people that are in 9 to 5s that aren't motivated and driven, nothing wrong with 9 to 5, but a lot of times there's a general mindset with people who are working on an hourly wage versus trying to move their life into a bigger direction. You might have the same mindset as them. If you're surrounded by people that are striving for more in their life, they're raising the bar, they're raising the standard, you're going to start embodying some of those beliefs of who you're surrounded by. And so choosing your circle wisely is very important. And so full transparency right now, I have probably about 4 organizations that I am not running, but I'm on the board of advisors with. And so I am a consultant and advisor for many of my organizations. I've tried to take on and embody a generator position because I always wanted to do more. I wanted to create more because I felt like that was what I needed to do. That only left me feeling drained, depleted, exhausted, and completely just unmotivated. And the rebound of exhausting yourself as a projector is catastrophic to the organization. So identifying exactly what your strength is and utilizing this system can be very, very beneficial. Now, when I got into this, I really felt that this was a woo-woo design. I felt this was like, following the lunar cycles and tapping into a lot of esoteric type of concepts. I had a low level of conviction in it. And then I read my design and I read it down to the T. Like everything, I am your spitting image of a 2/4 self-projected projector. And that's what solidified the conviction. And I still try to take on some generator energy because of the society that I am currently surrounded in. I live just north of Miami. It is a very strong, high octane, move, go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. So again, leaning back on proximity is power. Being surrounded by that, I take on a lot of that energy. I want to step into that energy. So if you take away anything from not only Lion's presentation, but my presentation or this roundtable in general, is you don't have to know every design. You don't have to know every superpower of every single house. You don't have to know the splenic. You don't have to know the solar. You don't have to know all the little special small details. Just know your own design so you know how to operate in your own superpowers. And then the second piece I would say to that is get really good at fucking saying no. Because when we start saying yes to everything, we start depleting ourselves greatly. And there's a lot of concepts and psychological and behavioral type of things that we can dive into within that field. But if we can really start leaning into saying no to the things that aren't a full body fuck yes and that do not fit our human design, we might feel like we're missing opportunities and letting go of opportunities, but really what we're doing is we're creating space and opening up pieces of ourselves for new opportunity or for really operating in our superpower, which allows us to feel fulfilled and feel good and feel in purpose and not fall into a perpetual state of frustration. Because when we start getting into that state of perpetual frustration, especially when we have the whole entire world telling us we should operate in one singular way, this only leads us to self-sabotaging behaviors and habits. And there's a really good book that I recommend is called the slipping my mind. Upper limit, the big leap, upper limit, the big leap. I'll have to drop it. I'll have to drop it into your guys's group. But basically it talks about hitting your upper ceiling and hitting your limit. It's usually from depleting ourselves too much. So that was a little background, a little bit of my spiel. As you can tell, this is a lot of projector energy coming out where basically my superpower is being able to articulate my experiences and spit them out to the world. I don't have a beautiful presentation as what Lion put together. I really fall into the flow of things and see how I can bring in what's real and what's true for me and alive. So I built out a little small outline. And Lion, you crushed. I just want to acknowledge you here. Everyone drop a fire into the chat. If not even if, just drop a fucking fire into the chat for Lion, because it was so spot on. You covered so many dynamics that I totally would have overlooked with my my spacey brain at times, but absolute crushed, brother. Thank you so much for the amount of depth and presence that you brought to that presentation. So if you see me looking over to the right a little bit, I'm just making sure I'm staying on track with everything that I need to present. And so right now, that's going to be one of those moments. So everyone said that you guys saw or understand some of your design. Is there anyone here that doesn't understand your design? Maybe drop a little question mark in the chat if you don't know your human design. It looks like everyone kind of knows their whole human design, which is great. And if you don't, for any chance, there's plenty of websites. I think Keegan went and dropped in a website. Highly recommend doing that. Get a full report for yourself. Sometimes they'll come out with a 1-page. Sometimes they come out with a 64-page. They can be overwhelming, but again, this is just a superpower to understand yourself. So within my organizations, I leverage this before I even make the hire. When I build out my organizational chart, Keegan mentioned a book called Traction, and Traction is a book to basically help entrepreneurs scale your business. A lot of times what I notice is entrepreneurs will get stuck. We have an idea, we get super excited, we put that idea out to the world, we start making a little bit of money, we hit 50,000, we hit that 5-figure mark, we hit 100,000, 200, 300, 400,000. There's different ceilings that will get stopped at. And there is a ceiling. Most businesses, only 5% of businesses become $1 million business. Why is that? Most entrepreneurs that are starting a business do not know how to get past that ceiling. And so as a projector, I'm personally really good at building out systems, seeing things from a 30,000 foot view, and being able to create structure and systems and details and how to get past that limit. And that's what I did in my past organizations, was exactly that. So the book Traction will basically show you how to build out an organizational chart. The integrator, you have your visionary, they work really seamlessly with one another. Most of visionaries are going to be projectors. Most integrators are either going to be manifestors or manifestor generators. So Lion is someone that I would look at hiring. Keegan is someone I would look at hiring, or lack of better terms would be, or that's a lack of a term, but really I would partner with them. I'd bring them on as a business partner of mine, because I need those kind of people in my group. I need those people in my circle. Those are the people that I know I work really, really well with. Within this organizational chart, you build out all the responsibilities of each individual or each position. Now, what it doesn't cover is how to leverage the human design concepts inside of there. I pinpoint which human design character that I need in each one of these positions. So when I'm launching a business, say for the one organization that I have, it's basically a done-for-you retreat, basically run, organize, and facilitate retreats for other thought leaders. And then the other piece of that is we teach people how to do it. I am visionary, so I can project my idea out to the world, but I need someone that can basically take all of that and start creating the business model around it. So my integrator for this specific role is a manifestor. Very, very good at initiating the action steps and getting that action moving. Now, my COO, who runs all of the operations of the business, this person is specifically a manifestor generator. They can initiate and they can take action and see it through completion. What I've noticed with manifestors, Lion, you can agree or disagree to this. I'm open to your insight. With a manifestor, they can keep that, they can get it going and put rocket fuel to the fucking fire, but they can only do that for so long before they start getting burnt out and tired, and they start wanting to go on to another idea, or they need to focus on something else. And so he will need basically a manifestor generator that can see that to completion, or a generator. Usually my workforce is comprised of generators. Now, the generators are very happy and excited to be doing exactly what they're doing, when you give them clear, concise direction and being like, and they have to be operating in their power too. So getting their feedback and saying, what are you interested? What do you love doing? How do you like to show up? What excites you? What do you fucking hate? And simultaneously holding awareness around seeing their behaviors and being observant and understanding. And that's where a projector will come in. A projector will be able to come in and analyze the people and really understand these people aren't like, is it the right seat? And is it the right role for this person? Sometimes people are acting in their shadow, and they are wanting to do something because they want to please people. And this is a behavioral trait. This is a pattern that sometimes we can fall into. Nothing wrong with it. It's just something to be aware of. And so all of these different human design elements are meant to work in a system together. And I think of this as a puzzle. When we look at a puzzle and it's a completed puzzle, and we start taking small bits and pieces out of that puzzle, the picture is no longer complete. Each puzzle piece is unique and different within itself. We need one another in every aspect of life to lean onto each other. It's the same thing in brotherhood. Like, you want to go far, you move together. You want to go alone, or if you want to go fast, you move alone. Brothers need each other to iron sharpen iron. And so we're always spitting ideas back and forth. We're pushing each other. We're holding each other to that next caliber, the next standard, so we can show up in our true embodiment of being able to serve and protect and foster in that future wave, those future generations. So it's the same thing in our organizations. It's set in a certain set of core values, and those core values are developed around the full operating system of the different elements within human design. So when you're picking out the people, or you're picking out your pieces and you're building your team out, you should have an idea if you need a reflector, projector, manifestor, generator. Now, one person that I have not found a strong position for just yet has been reflectors, because I haven't had the opportunity to work with a lot of reflectors. I do have one reflector, which oddly enough is my attorney, which I think works perfect in my organization, because I can go to that person and consult with my attorney and be like, hey, this is what's going on. And they can feel into it, feed into it, but they also have some structure in the way that they make decisions as well. Whew. Man, this stuff gets me fucking hyped. And when you start diving into it, you'll start to recognize that I would say 80% of the people you talk to you'll be able to identify how they operate, and you'll know them better than they know themselves. And so you can feed into what they need. And they will feel like, and this is a part of sales as well, I guarantee you a lot of people in here are probably in sales. People will feel like you're in their head, because you'll know them. You can start reading someone, and within 5 minutes, you'll know, is this person a projector, a reflector, so on and so forth. And you'll know how they operate, and you'll know what they're going to say before they say it. And so you can handle objections before they reach the table. And same thing with employees. You can handle problems before they ever become problems. Or you can do a simple SWOT analysis as well. So some of the consequences of putting someone in a role that they're not designed for. Now, as a projector, I always speak from my experiences. It's hard for me to speak on other elements of human design, because I never experienced it. So as a projector, I get really, really burnt out by working 8-hour days. I get burnt out working 6-hour days. I get burnt out if I work on a project for longer than 3 months. So I have to have a deep levels and a deep sense of awareness around where my energy is being allocated, and how I decide to show up, and where I decide to show up at. Before I learned human design, actually, let me rephrase that. When I started learning about human design, and I was putting employees into positions that they weren't suited for, it was fucking hell. It was chaos. Um, it costed me hundreds of thousands of dollars because I was putting a projector in a role where they had to work 12 hours a day and just push the needle like all the way, like full octave or full octane, like redlining. And they end up developing resentment and bitterness, and it becomes a negative feedback loop that you don't want to deal with. And it's not to say that you have to do this style, but if you do anything and you incorporate into your business or into your partners, your collaborators, whatever field of work it is that you're in, your intimate relationships, some form of human assessment or some form of personality assessment will be beneficial, because the human design, utilizes ancient wisdom. And when we say ancient wisdom, thousands and thousands of years of knowledge and wisdom stacked on top of each other. We stand on the shoulders of giants, meaning that if you look anywhere in the world, none of this was created and designed by one person. It was wisdom that was passed on for generations and generations. And human design is a combination of all of that collectively put together. So your consequences of the misalignment in roles with your team can really create a lot of burnout. It can create a lot of stress. It can create poor dynamics, a lot of drama that's completely unnecessary. It can create a high turnover rate. And for anyone that has operating their own business, I invest more money into my employees than I invest into marketing. I invest more money into taking care of the people that are on my team than any part of my business. Because when I have to make a new hire, that costs probably about 3.5x than it is to just pour into my already existing team and making sure they're in the right position and they're in the right seat. So I really put a lot of emphasis on the importance of aligning individuals within their own human design. And it helps me keep my organizations healthy. And it allows me to, when your individuals are happy on your team and you're leveraging their superpowers and you educate them and you pour into them, this will allow you to pay them less and for them to work at a higher level. And if we're talking about business strategy, we don't have to pay people more to feel like they're getting their values worth, because if you pay people more, they're only going to want more. You have to spark their passion and spark their purpose and spark their inspiration and have them moving towards a mission that is bigger than themselves. More money will never solve a problem. I used to have executive chefs that I paid $30 an hour, $40 an hour, $50 an hour. And every time we would give them a raise, they wouldn't be any more happier. They would just, after 6 months, they would want more money because they felt like it wasn't worth it. But if you fueled them with mission and purpose and focus, I never had to pay them more. I actually ended up paying them less for longer durations of time. And this is when I started learning about human design. I was able to understand how to feed into their superpowers. All right. Up to this point, is there any questions? Am I moving at a good pace? Am I staying focused enough for everyone? Or am I squirreling around too far? How's everyone feeling right now? Give a thumbs up if you're feeling good. Give a thumbs down if you're a little confused. Got some thumbs up in there. Solid pace, loving it. Thumbs up. Keegan's showing off this massive, insane plank, turning his camera off. All right, guys. Awesome. So creating a thriving team with your human design, I kind of like poked into that. You can even do this down to the individual tasks that you will be. So when you pull your leadership team together, you can assign certain tasks based off of their human design as well. And again, if you're the lead, here's a point that I had to humble myself on deeply. We live in a world where we want to hustle, where the world tells us we need to hustle, we need to grind, where we need to be the alpha, we need to be the leader, we need to be the one that everyone looks at. And that's not the case. Not entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Most it will burn you the fuck out, and it'll kick you in the nuts more time. I think Alex Mosey made this post, but it's something I've been saying for a long time, is you'll get kicked in the nuts over and over and over again. You have to just build some resilient fucking nuts, some balls of steel, if you think you're an entrepreneur. And it's okay if you're not an entrepreneur. The world and social media is programming a lot of people to try to operate in an entrepreneurial mindset. And I feel that this can perpetuate a depressing life, because people are not acting in their strengths. And so for me, I thought I had to be the CEO. I wanted to hold that title of the CEO. And I was, my last business venture before the one I'm currently in, we were generating around $3 million a year, and we had about a 5% profit margin. Actually, it's probably about 7% profit margin. If anyone is tracking me on this, that means your business is failing. Bringing in a lot of money, we're moving the money back and forth and all around, but we're not really making any money. We're one small move away from the business going bankrupt. We had about $50,000 left in the bank account, and I was trying everything possible to make this business succeed. So I ended up spending our last $50,000 on a business coach to come in and basically build out the operations in the system. And simultaneously, I resigned as CEO, moved myself to the board of directors, the head of board on a board of directors, so I can just make executive decisions. But I had to no longer run the organization because I was not suited for it. I was not operating in my superpower. I wasn't able to get the job done. So I actually put a manifestor generator in the CEO position, and I put myself, a projector, in the board of directors. This came with a pay cut. This came with more risk, although it came with more liability, and also freed me up to take on more projects, which is what I love to do. Speed that time up to 3 years down the road. The organization, I was able to exit that business fully. The business grew 4x. We were listed on, I think it was 349th fastest growing company in the Inc. 5000 businesses. And the business is still growing, still thriving, but I was able to make my exit and move to that next stage of my life. And this is what the catalytic moment was, where I'm like, I don't have to be the leader. I just need to know what my strength is. So if you're a generator, know that you don't have to be the CEO. You can still start a business and hire a CEO. And so I do not want to fucking be a CEO of any of my businesses ever again. And so this company I'm currently part of right now, it's called Modern Homestead. You can check us on Instagram. You can watch a TV show if you choose to desire so, but it's basically about buying properties and buying properties and empowering people to be self-resilient as far as it goes with their home. Now, I have played such a background role. I hired a CEO to come in, and I gave him more equity to the business than I have, because I am driven by the mission and the vision of the organization. And we actually brought on 5 other leaders to where, like, I literally come in on monthly meetings and spend about 5 hours a month on this business in terms of just giving my consults and my advisors, or my advisory, and the direction that we should be moving, and we cast a vote if it's a good direction that we all agree on. But I was able to build a team around the people that I wanted. I was able to give them everything that they needed to feel full, because I understood their human design. So I was really able to align those roles and tasks, and also not feel like I had to be the leader. Now, the guy that's the manifestor generator, he's a guy that loves to work 16 hours a day and get the job done, and he won't sleep until the job is done. And that's the person that I needed to grow this business to where it is. You speed that up to now, we have a pre-money valuation of 25 million. We're in the process of locking in contracts with the Kingdom of Jordan, with governmental contracts, and I would have never been able to get that good job done. Now, if I was in the CEO role, we would probably still be in ideation stage. I probably would have surrounded myself with a bunch of projectors. We probably would have talked about the idea a whole bunch, got super hyped up, mapped it out on a whiteboard, and then sat around with our thumb in our ass and be like, what the fuck do we do now? And we never would have got the boots off the ground. We never would have got the idea off the ground. and someone else would have come first to market, and they would have capitalized on the opportunity that's currently existing. So there is a great deal of importance that I'm currently stressing on knowing your superpower and being able to act within that and remain humble through that entire process. Act for yourself, not for the rest of the world. So this will also allow you to make great decisions inside of the organization. This will also allow you to feel full, feel creative, and create a supportive environment for the rest of your team as well. And if there's an actionable step that I can really emphasize on this, would be to have consistent check-ins. I'm talking like weekly check-ins, not weekly check-ins. Be like, so how's your human design feeling? Is it feeling full? Is it feeling nurtured? Like, just have it in the back of your mind, knowing that you're operating in that structure, and be able to approach conversations with these check-ins and know how to articulate your communication with your leadership team. And so again, I make all of my hires based off of human design and Myers-Briggs, another amazing personality test, which that personality test allows you to understand where they're at here and now. And so with the point that I was making before was, this is ancient technology based off of where you were born, the moon cycle, the sun cycles, planetary alignments, astrology, traditional Chinese medicine, a lot of concepts that are almost, for lack of better terms, fixed. Myers-Briggs, this test, these are ebbing and flowing with where you're currently at on your personality. So I give these two different personalities, or I give these two different tests before I make a hire. And it doesn't mean that I just know what I'm looking for when I bring in applications. So yeah, so basically, again, to recap a lot of this, and I'll start to digress, is the main benefits that you'll discover is you'll have an increased level of productivity, overall team morale, team satisfaction. Your organization will thrive, and there's no doubt about it. Your organization will thrive. With an 80% success rate in my own personal experience, I lean heavy on this system. And again, you're free to use whatever system you want and find what works for you. Again, I'm only speaking from my own truth and what I've discovered to be impactful for me. So I hope you guys can learn from my experiences. I hope that you're able to receive some value from some of the stories and some of the insights I was able to deliver here. I'm open for questions. If there's anyone that wants to drop questions into the chat, or maybe I guess you can open mic at this point, but that's pretty much where I'm at and how I utilize human design for my teams and for myself.
On the value there, gentlemen, someone who's put himself in a different seat, kind of a back seat in some ways, to be able to get to a $25 million business evaluation. Like, this is the next phase of conversation. Once you've got your self-discipline on and you've got ambition and you want to do something good, then it's figuring out, okay, well, what does something good look like? What am I designed for? And for sure it's different. And that's such a powerful story to hear. I guess I stopped doing it my way and I started doing it the way that was more aligned with what I'm meant to be doing, and getting the results. Like, obviously there's always more to do and there's more adventures, but
Yeah,
you can tell it's clearly clearly a better way from your perspective now. You're not going back to the former way of doing things.
and for context, we got to that valuation in 8 months. That wasn't 5-10 years of working on it. That's in 8 months. We went from 0 to 25 million.
Yeah. So my experience of business as being this more manifesting generator type has been like, I just push the thing up the hill as long as it needs to go up the hill, and everything's going to be fine. But there's other lenses to look at business through. And you have to get your own self going a bit to be able to access them. But then these are the conversations that we want to have, we need to have. I had another buddy reach out to me who I went for steaks with in Germany, and he just goes after buying properties worth 10 million plus with the bank's money. Like, that's what he does, and looks at how to buy those businesses without any money down and then to sell them. And like, that is the strategy. That is a way that you can go about doing things. It's not the way I've done things, but he was encouraging me, like, if you wanted to go much bigger with this, you would have your board of advisors and you would have like this process and that process. And I'm interested to go down that path. I don't think it is where most people should generally start when they start thinking about business. I think it's good to have a feeling for selling a small product and, you know, understanding market forces and that sort of thing. But how's it been for you? Like that's a good, you know, thing I'd love to hear you speak about, like the transition from, I don't know if you had a micro business kind of style in the way that my businesses have all started from nothing to 50 grand, you know, that's kind of been the pattern a month.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, most of my business all started. This is the first business venture that I'm a part of right now, Modern Homestead, where because the guy that I hired was I hired him from Wall Street, and he was exiting Wall Street. He was a Goldman Sachs, and he was on a mergers and acquisitions specialist. So basically, like he negotiated deals to merge and acquire other businesses. And so that's how we've gotten to the valuation that we have, is because we didn't start generating $25 million in revenue. What we started doing was we started acquiring other businesses that already had money flowing into their systems. And we offered a compelling vision, and we opened up a marketing platform, which was a TV show, partnered with influencers or a influencer that was very well connected, and started expanding our network, basically underground through internal networks, and acquired businesses along the way. So that way we had a lot of eyeballs on us, because the best currency you're going to get is attention. And so if you can have a lot of attention, people will pay a lot of money for that. And so once we had that attention through the TV show, we were able to negotiate that as our leverage for partnering with these other companies. And we just built, like right now we own like 8 different companies, from a water generation company, like a water generator company, to a water filtration company, to soil and compost company. We own solar panels and all kinds of different things. And so ultimately, like, this is the first one. This is all new to me. I'm like, holy shit, this is a different way of doing business. So it allowed me, this humbling allowed me to really expand my awareness and how I can do business outside of what I knew. Because my first business, like official business, was a automotive reconditioning business. And we went from basically me working out of my pickup truck, just me wanting to generate, you know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month, to it growing into a 7-figure business in 2 years. And I had 15 employees under me, training technicians, doing basically $50,000 to $100,000 contracts with car dealerships. But that started as a micro business out of my pickup truck. After I sold that, left that business, I went into the meal prep industry. Well, actually, I launched a marketing company, and that fell on its face because I tried to scale that way faster than I had the finances to support. Got humbled, and simultaneously I built a meal prep company where I was just basically meal prepping for myself, and I was cooking for a few friends, and it just scaled quick. We went from 0 to $1 million in less than a year. And at that time, that was almost unheard of. Like, Instagram just came out 3 years ago, or 3 years or 4 years after. And I was like leveraging influencing marketing. And honestly, Instagram was the shittiest place for me personally. I see everyone that has great success on social media, and I have never had success on social media. I'm so good at getting in people's faces and locking in large contracts and just, you know, being on a stage. And again, this is before I understood my projector profile. Creating content and putting it and delegating or distributing it out there wasn't easy for me. It's still not easy for me. But if I get on stage, I can have a 30-40% closing ratio just by getting on stage and feeling into the energy of what's happening in the crowd and the audience, and being able to take that on and kind of navigate those waters that way. But even that second business was, again, out of a single family home kitchen. And we, you know, when I sold it, we were cooking out of a 30,000 square foot facility, and, you know, 50 employees, shipping nationwide in that business. And so that's kind of been the journey as far as starting micro business and just like learning things along the way, not understanding human design, to then tapping into human design, and being able to just, again, pour that rocket fuel onto the system and scale really, really quickly.
I guess I have a curiosity with that, Chandler, because something Lion said was that projectors are basically not here to build stuff, and they're here to more guide. So it seems like you've kind of evolved into figuring that out, but you also did build in the beginning of your career.
Yeah.
So is that kind of what you've learned, that maybe you still can build, but it's not as easy?
Sorry, did you have more to say?
No, no, that's all.
Yeah. First off, Mike, your voice is coming out super crisp, and I envy your fucking tech skills to be able to dial that in right there. I've been working with my mic for so long, and then my voice sounds so awful, so I need someone to come over and fix my whole entire podcast studio. But
You
yeah,
guys
bro.
have to catch up. Max, you know, get down there and have a visit. Max
Yeah,
is
I'll head over. I'm not
Drop
too
in, buddy.
far.
Where you at?
Clearwater.
Oh, bro, I was just in St. Pete for like 6 days. I should have just met up with you in person while I was out here.
You'll have
Max
to
is
make it happen.
Max wants to
Uh,
do events as well, Chandler. Max is super keen to go down a path you've been down with the events. So you should definitely make that happen. Max,
Absolutely.
doors open there now.
Yeah, man. I'm for it. I mean, that's so I have a passion and I have purpose, and like the passion is in-person events. There's no doubt that the most impactful way to really transform is through in-person events. And that's why I run events for people. That's why I run my own events. That's why I just pour into them in every way possible. To touch on that is there's a lot of dynamics there. We can do like there's also masculine and feminine dynamics as well that we can kind of pour into and really understand. And then you have society, and like you can only go so far for so long. And there's a micro and macro scope to look at things as well. And so when I was really persevering and pushing really hard, I was destined for burnout. And so when I sold that business, I was in burnout stage for about 3.5, 4 years. And when I say burnout, I had no desire, no ambition to do anything. I just literally traveled and was just sitting in a super tranquilo state of mind and space. And, just it was kind of depressing, to be fully honest. Like it was depressing and sad because I felt like I had no purpose to drive, and I lived this hyper masculine state. And I had to break all the illusions in my mind as far as like what I thought I had to do, and keep leaning into like what felt good inside of myself. And I had to have a lot of conversations with my coaches, and I was, going deep woo woo, and, aligning my chakras, and, just like getting connected to the astral charts. And I believe so heavy in all that stuff. So I also want to make sure that my language, when I communicate to the world, stays relatable as well, because there is so much truth in, uh, the Kabbalah, and, a lot of these different practices and ceremonies that kind of come out. But I was so heavy masculine for 10 years of building a business and pushing through Tony Robbins style, brute force. Eventually, the scales had to balance out, and I had to drop deep into a feminine state of just flow and tranquility. And so you can sustain that for a while, and you can keep pushing through it, but eventually the scales will balance themselves out. And it could be a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I would say the longer that you're imbalanced, the longer that rebound will take. Does that help? Or does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Yeah, and if there's no questions that are sparking up right now for anyone, if everyone feels like this landed, didn't land, maybe there's some more curiosities. I know a lot of you are probably connected with Keegan and Lion on Instagram. You can connect with me on Instagram as well, Chandler Jericho. I'll be more than happy to guide you guys through the wisdom that I have experienced. Again, I'm not a sought out high-end expert in this field, although I do have practicality in how I've built my teams and my experiences that I can share with everyone.
I did have a curiosity about the maybe the deeper side that Lion was talking about with the 64 hexagrams, because I've seen this guy Jeffrey Thompson discussing this and how it comes from Carl Jung. And
Yep.
yeah, I don't know if you could expand on that, because it definitely seems interesting.
That'll be way more of a question for Lion, because I that's one piece of human design I do not understand, or I haven't had the time to really dive into.
Yeah.
I actually went from human design. I learned to what it is that I know, and I share with you guys where I'm at now. It started moving over into another system called Gene Keys.
Yeah, it's worth looking into gene keys as well. They have so much similarity, and the gene keys can expand the understanding of the gates so that they have these like three-dimensional like the what is it, the shadow, the gift, and the CD, right? And
Yeah.
so definitely worth looking into as well. But to expand on the I Ching, you mentioned, Chandler, masculine and feminine polarity, and the way that I see the I Ching is it's a representation of how yin and yang, or masculine and feminine essence, expresses itself through its own like natural genetic kind of coding, similar to the human genome. So that's the way that I see it. And then the reason I put forward the law of correspondence is that it's playing at that. So in nature, the I Ching is like the book of changes, like how nature's Yo, what's up? Good to see you. Nature, yeah, nature's expressing itself through yin and yang, or masculine and feminine polarity. Like if you look at, maybe I can find it here. If you look at the hexagrams, they're all 6 lines. If you find the solid lines, those are masculine lines. So the first gate's just pure masculine energy. If you find the second gate, it's like a broken line, so pure yin energy. And this is just a representation of nature, and then that's just being reflected in our own body. And that's the way that I see it. I can't like go super more deep than that, but it's just it's that law of correspondence, that connection between all things, that we are expressing what's happening in nature in our own bodies, but also in our own proclivities. And it's actually so great to have Chandler express his lived experience, because he's like channeling how does that show up in life? Like he's like speaking to how that shows up in life. Like we've seen it in nature. We see how like the masculine and feminine is expressing itself all over the place, like all the time. And then now we as humans are co-creating with that and expanding upon it. So that's how I see it. That it's just a continuation of it. And then for the system itself, you just use the hexagrams to determine the gates, and each of them has a different theme, and each gate has a different line that it's on. So that also has a different theme. And that's what creates your profile. But that's a whole other wormhole that we could go into.
I love that. Thank you for that explanation and a little bit of background. Yeah, it's definitely been to be fully honest, like at one point when I started working with human design, I'm like, wow, like this is getting really complex and I could spend a lifetime studying this.
Yeah, I can't help myself. I have a line 1, which is the investigator, so I just want to learn it. Like that's what I want to do. You're probably like going about like I just want to do. You're like naturally gifted with your 2 line. I just want to learn it. But one of the things that I learned from you in this conversation, I think everyone can learn, is that um, as long as you understand how to know your gift and you can start living into it, that's probably one of the most applicable things for any man. It's like, how do you live into that, and how do you understand that you're a unique puzzle piece? And yeah, you can dive into all the mysticism and the woo, and like and stimulate yourself in that way. Like I love doing that. I just find it deeply enriching. But for the application of becoming a successful businessman like Chandler has, like know that it's a tool. And I think it's Tim Ferriss that said, or he uses this concept of use the information that you can use right now. Like you don't need to like take on a ton of information and be like, oh, I need to take in all this information. Like you guys now know how to use your strategy and authority, so use it and see how it works for you. Embody it.
Piece by piece. If you know you're a projector, just discover one little aspect that you can start applying to everyday life versus, like you said, if you learn the whole system, you're like, I gotta make sure I stay in my superpower of being self-projected, and I gotta make sure that I'm waiting for invitations and I'm paying attention to opportunities, like amongst operating your business or amongst operating your life or your family or whatever it is. You're just, I mean, too much. We have 100% of a battery and just too much information coming in at one time. It'll create straight up overwhelm. And again, what's it called? Laser cuts diamonds, I think is a saying. And if the sun could warm up the planet and it warms it up very slowly over a long period of time, a laser can cut through a diamond. And so like if you have focus on one individual thing, one task, you can really penetrate the world and also embody piece by piece. Keegan, you probably relate to this. We're not doing handstands and bodybuilding and doing marathon. We're not doing all these different workout styles all at once because it can be counterintuitive and it can be too much to focus on. And obviously the human body probably can't handle all of that. If you figure out that system to make that work, I'm sure you'll get have a high receptivity to it for everyone's 2.7 second attention span nowadays. That's the new study that just came out. Yeah, in marketing, you have to show people something 11 times before they make the decision to buy, and their attention span is 2.7 seconds. Random fact for today.
Apologies, I wasn't on mute there before I did it. Children jumping in to say hello. But yeah, the cool thing is that like there are people here though. You know, you can be negative about where we're headed and such, but there's people who have invested dozens of, you know, that like several hours here over this workshop and, you know, joining for this conversation, that people are still looking to learn and pay attention and things as well. It's just we have to be it's important to go for quality and to be authentic and to be consistent. And if you're doing that, then there are still opportunities to create change and share important ideas. People are still looking for important ideas, so that's what's happening here.
Yeah. You know, there's a saying that Tony Robbins says that I really love, and if we can take home this one concept, it'll help a lot. And so men are very logical. The masculine energy is very, very logical. And we analyze, and we can be death of paralysis. So we can, you know, paralysis analysis, we can think about something and overanalyze things, and it basically creates stagnation and stillness. And essentially we'll never take action. And so I guess there's 2 points, 2 sayings. One is imperfect action. Just start taking imperfect action. It does not have to be perfect. Just start making movement and creating motion. And the other one, the original one that I was going to drop into, is if you're in your head, you're dead. When you're in your heart, you're smart. And so do what feels good in the body. Just what is it that feels good? What feels right? Our gut has more neurotransmitters than our brain. And for everyone that doesn't know what neurotransmitters are, that's how our brain operates. They're basically like little cells that are inside the brain, and they're little electrical signals that communicate back and forth with one another that are of information. And so that's why they say we're electrical beings before we're chemical. We are electrical beings. We are like antennas. So we have to keep the body pure and clean in order for us to create clear transmissions. But that clear transmission is not only coming from the brain, it's coming from the nervous system, and it's coming from the gut. And so when we feel like something feels good, lean into that without any expectations, without any questions. Just do it. And your brain might say, this is scary, I don't want to do this. But know that the brain is only a programmed set of behaviors based off of our experiences that we've experienced throughout life, where most of the time the way that program enters our brain and creates our behaviors and our patterns is through our 5 senses. What did we see? What did we feel? What did we taste? What did our proximity of people program into us? What did our parents tell us? So we have a set of beliefs and patterns that we're operating on, and this is where fear will come from. Because when you put your hand on a stove and you burnt yourself when you were 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and you pulled it away, you never touched the stove again because your brain felt something hot and you said, oh, fuck, I'm not going to do that shit again. If you touched it and you burnt yourself and you're like, damn, that was arousing and felt good, you're probably into some different shit in the bedroom. If you touched it and you're like, damn, that shit felt good, you probably touch the oven occasionally once in here. You're probably drawn to heat for whatever it is, because there's a neuro association. So there's something called NAC, which is neuroassociative conditioning, and it's reprogramming your mind to have a positive association or different associations with experiences in life. Now I go down a whole different program or rabbit hole around the physiological associations that the body creates, the way the body and the mind all communicate with the spirit and the soul and to God. However, for context in this, keeping it simple, in your head, you're dead. In your heart, you're smart. If it feels good in the body and it's a gut feeling and you're like, yes, fuck yes, go and do it and act on it. If it's like something in you has resistance and it's like, I don't know, and it's in your body, like giving you like a cringe feeling, step away from it, and you might lose an opportunity. But in the long run, from that 30,000-foot view, you're doing what's right for your soul and your spirit right now. Obviously, you have some core values and integrity that you may need to be following as well. So understanding what your values are as a man, understanding what your integrity is as a man is very valuable and important. So you can actually lead, not just your friends, your family, and your community, but so you can lead yourself. Follow those. That's always what's foremost. So we have that structure to lean back on, but feel into the body. And that's sitting in silence. I advise, if you don't mind me, Keegan, giving a quick advisory, go spend 72 hours alone by yourself, no phone, no music, no nothing, meditating, sitting in silence, still, no moving. If you gotta pee, go pee. If you gotta go to the restroom, go to the restroom and go do it in nature. If you want to do it in darkness, you can do that, Aubrey Marcus style, whatever. That's your vibe. That's your vibe. But sit in stillness and allow the thoughts to come and go, and it'll be highly uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. And do it fasted. Drink water, do a wet fast, so you're drinking water, but do it fasted. And you'll be amazed as to what comes through and what can be released. And you may cry, you may yell, scream, let that out somatically of your body, but remain in stillness and silence for 72 hours. And this is necessary for men to do. We are always going and moving and processing and protecting and providing. And we're stepping into a higher level, a higher power. And this world needs men like us to be stepping into that full, true authenticity of what it means to be a man and holding ourselves to a higher standard. So we have to do what other men are not doing. We need to be embracing that next caliber of evolution. So again, small point. If you're in your head, you're dead. If you're in your heart, you're smart. Do what feels good. Full fuck yes. Follow integrity. Follow your core values.
Love it, brother. Super powerful. And I want to jump into this around the training side of things as well. There's a guy named Jay Schroeder who's got a system of training stuff. Part of the reprogram that he went through, he was paralyzed from a motorcycle accident. He laid in bed and he read Russian research around rebuilding the nervous system. And he didn't have any of the machines to do it, so he just did it with his mind. And then he has ended up coaching a bunch of important, good athletes. But a part of the message that some of these coaches that work with him get across is like, if you're being energized by the thing that you're doing, you'll be able to do way more than if you have in your mind, like, okay, I'm depleting myself with every repetition. And it's exactly like that concept that you're sharing there. Thinking about taking that on. I've been swimming laps without breathing in the pool here. And like, I'm telling myself, like, this is energizing me. This, I'm feeling better. This is taking me further. And I went like 2 laps, then 3 laps, then 4 laps. And it's funny just playing with these games within your mind. Playing with it physiologically is probably, with the athletic stuff is something that we can all do, because we're all doing that all the time. I'm doing it when I'm juggling as well. I'm pretty much telling myself, like, it is juggling. Like, my subconscious mind is juggling. I can't consciously juggle 5 balls. So it's like, it's juggling, keep juggling, and trying not to let anything get in the way of that. And it's that's the ways that I'm sort of playing with these concepts at the moment.
I love that.
Do you play with it with your training at all?
Everywhere, all over the place. Whenever I feel a sensation in my body, so there's a lot of depth in the brain. We're very multidimensional. And if there's ever a sensation that arises within my body and in my mind that is in that moment not serving what I would deem as my highest good or my highest direction, I will create that new neuroassociative conditioning. Like, if I'm training and I'm having like excruciating lower back pain, one, pay attention. If you're having like an insane pain, like, be aware of what's good, not good. But if I'm having like a lot of lower back pain, basically will tell myself like positive affirmations around it, incantations around it, and you will see how fast that pain. Because if I'm in my head and I'm saying, oh, this hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, you're only going to induce more pain, more hurt. But if it's present and I'm like, I start feeding gratitude into it. I'm like, thank you for this higher level of awareness. This is something that I am gifted to have. This is a new opportunity on the horizon, on the other side of this experience. Provide me more insight, provide me more wisdom for this. Then the way that we talk to ourselves is very important. Or if I'm doing some good old bicep curls and it's just burning, I'm literally feeling into it. Pain, pay attention aside now. Ooh, I love that. If I'm doing, say, some bicep curls for a quick analogy, and it's like burning for me, it's like, I will tell myself, be like, this is a great sensation. This is leading to higher level of success. Whatever it is, I'll change the association that I have with different sensations or belief systems inside of my mind. Making money is hard. Well, if you say it's making it hard, you're gonna find a way. It fucking struggles every time. Money is easy to make. It's everywhere. Go into the foreign exchange. Go trade crypto. Go trade forex and see how much money's moving around on a daily basis. Trillions of dollars moving around on a daily basis, and you'd be like, "Yo, there is no shortage of money. It's just not my bank account right now." It's just making its way. It's got to go to a couple hands before it goes to mine.
Yeah, that's powerful, brother. Thank you so much. One thing that you said about the stomach and the innervation, I think that really ties in beautifully to why, just going backtracking a little bit here, why the human design system emphasizes us to have an inner authority that's not associated to the mind. And, you know, we're kind of bridging science and spirituality here, which is like lights me up, like lights me the fuck up, honestly, because that's I think what is a higher level of man who can bridge those worlds. But for those of you who are, you know, newer to this and you're not living into the authority, it's like I would say that's one of the main reasons why, and how you can bridge those worlds if it's feeling woo, is that there is an extreme amount of innervation in the abdomen and in your body, and there's more signals from the abdomen and the lower regions of your body moving up into your brain than down. So as Chandler mentioned, there's an immense amount of wisdom in the body, and I see the body also as you know, it's been evolving for millions and millions and millions and millions of years. Like it's biotechnology. You're in the greatest created machine that ever was created by nature. Like, so the mind's not meant to look at the future. It's also like what Chandler said, it takes in the program and then it looks back and goes, okay, what did the program say? So if you're trying to make a decision based off of a faulty program, you're going to keep repeating the program, you know, like it's hard to make money, or my back fucking hurts, or this thing. Instead, we have intuitive knowledge within the body because it's a divinely made machine. And if we listen to it, it's going to direct us towards what is of highest value for us. But it's scary because we've been told, like, you have to do this, or this is what it means for you, or, you know, money's a bad thing. So if you're willing to trust your body, or if you're willing to use a system that guides you through it, oftentimes you can rewrite the program. And what we're linking here is like, well, yeah, how do you do that? Listen to your body, listen to the intuitive senses, and then have a willingness to know that mind is incredibly powerful. Like that's the first Hermetic principle. All is mental. The universe is a mental projection. So what you're projecting out in your reality is incredibly, incredibly important to refine that mental chatter. So that's just what sparked up in me when you were going on that, which I absolutely love, man. It's really, really cool. Does anyone have any other questions or anything that's sparked up here as we're kind of tying these things? Does anyone, yeah, want to jump in with a question or something that may have arisen through the presentation?
Hey, Lion. Oh, sorry, brother.
Sure, I'll go quick. This is a awesome intro to all of this entire realm, so thank you. So I saw some of all the links in there for those tests. You think that's just a good place to start to kind of get a bit of more of a grasp on everything going on?
Yeah, I do one of those. Actually, the second link I think I put in there, there's some that give you a diagnostic. I would start there. But honestly, kind of like we said here, if you want to just live into it, understand your strategy and your authority. And honestly, dude, if I think you're an uncom, yeah, just send me a message and I can tell you what that means for you and give you a way to do that. And I would just say start with that as an action item. And then for fun, like read about it more, but it's a lot of information. You can get into that action paralysis state, like, oh my gosh, this, oh my gosh, that. So act within the strategy and authority. And then, yeah, the other information, just see it as like fun stuff. And that's what I would suggest. But yeah, to answer your question succinctly, yes, you can get some good information. And there is a book, but the book is massive, so don't worry about that for now. Live into it for a few months and then reach out to me and I'll be like, okay, now go into the book.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Lion. Was just wondering about the slides in your presentation. Is there a time or place we can access those post this call?
Yeah, I'm super happy to give them. Maybe I'll organize something with Keegan, like I'll give him access, and yeah, super happy to give you guys access to the slides. No problem at all. So for sure.
Thank you, bro. That would be amazing.
I have a question maybe opens up a rabbit hole in the last 10 minutes, but I don't want to open up anything too crazy. But I noticed like a lot of the tests seem to be about that. Well, I didn't understand it at first with human design that it was actually about the body. It was like the machine. I thought it was like maybe on a soul level, this is who you are. Is that how all of these other tests? I know Chandler, you're using other tests as well. Are they all referring to just the body as a machine? Or are there also other tests that are telling you deeper things about maybe on a more spiritual level?
Mm,
I
Definitely.
feel
yeah, go for it, brother.
I feel that human design allows us to understand the body so we can tap into the soul and spirit. And so what's happening in this world right now is that we are taking on so much density of other people's projections, other people's experiences, other people's beliefs and understandings and values, traditions. And this allows us to understand, to really feel into what is true for us and what's not true for us, so we can create more space to connect more authentically to to that higher power, to God, to source, to spirit. The other ones that I utilize, like DISC and Myers-Briggs, is specifically how you show up right now. Like Myers-Briggs say, what are the 4 different ways that you prefer to take your coffee? Or if someone gives you a cold coffee, what do you do in this scenario? When you ordered a hot coffee, how do you respond to an employee when this happens? So it's more like directly correlated to personality, decision making, and the ones that I utilize.
Nice, brother. I'll add quickly to that with regards to like body versus soul. If you want to dive deeper into understanding like how the system came about, this link that I just put is Ra Uru U, the guy who channeled the system, introducing it. But the way I see it is there's two parts of the incarnation or the vehicle, and there's one part which is design, and that is when the soul enters the physical material body, if you will, right? So that's what you're unconsciously doing. If you look at your body graph, it's on the left side, or it's usually in red, and that's the energy of like what you just do without consciously knowing about it. Doesn't yeah, you're designed to do this. And then there's the personality, or the thing that you think that you are, and that's when you're born. So it takes into account 2 astrological plots and brings that in. And so that's kind of like the way that I see the soul and the body. And another analogy I think they have in the system is that if the body is the vehicle, you're in the passenger seat watching this experience, and source or the soul energy is driving the vehicle. It's the driver. And a lot of us, in life, we're like, what's that? Why are we going this way? Stop there. And we're freaking out instead of realizing that there is like an alignment or a higher guidance that's bringing us towards things. And if we just relax, or if we learn some of these like masculine feminine polarities or human design or Myers-Briggs, if we learn these types of things, we start to flow with the rules of life that have been laid out, as opposed to like getting so caught up in like, what's happening? So that's what I would add to that.
Very cool. Appreciate both of you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. I love that we're having this conversation. I know for some it's really foreign, for others it's something they've been thinking about for a long time, and it's a space to explore and test things for yourself. Chandler's thinking about building, he's talking about this personal brand thing and running these courses. You can see here that Chandler has so much value to add and to offer to other men, inviting into experiences. Lion's been doing this for a while now, but for me, hearing, even just that challenge that you threw out there, Chandler, around the sit with yourself for 72 hours, you kind of dropped it on us like it was something that's, like try a dash of milk in your coffee.
Give it a shot. I would say even start like 24 hours. Work your way up to 72.
Yeah. Well, this is a cool, like, this is the thing that we have with Uncommon Success. We have like a group of men that are willing to run experiments with themselves. Like they're learning handstands, they're doing juggling. This is another experience or experiment that you can have of like, all right, we'll take 24 hours of sensory, no sensory input, no stimulation, and just sit with yourself and see what happens. Is there more to what you would say to someone before going into that, or just is that the instruction is as you've delivered it there. You're, I think, yeah.
I can go into super depth and a lot of different practices that you can drop into, but I think for anyone that would be embarking that on just on their first time would be to do it for 24 hours and fast. And do it in a safe space where you feel comfortable and just see what starts to come up. And there's layers to it that you can continually add in. Like for me, you're gonna have property all over the world. Well, let me rephrase that, 'cause that sounds more extravagant than really what it is. I have lots of land here and there. I have some in Tennessee, Texas, like stuff like that, where I can basically go and sit in nature isolated. But you can literally just go grab a tent. I do recommend doing it in nature, but literally like the way that I do it is I go out, I grab my tent, I go out along my properties, like on the back side of it where it's like very much woods. And I bring a little fire, like I get little supplies for a little fire, and I will have a jug of water. And I'll sit out there. I set up my space where I'm going to meditate, which is like a little cubby spot that I back my back into of a tree. It's like a 380-year-old oak tree. And I feel there's a lot of wisdom in that tree, but I basically sit there and I meditate for a full 72 hours. I don't get up, I don't move. Like if I have to go to the restroom, I do that, but then I come back. And the mind will try to pull me out of a still space. And I breathe. I'm very conscious and cognitive of my every single breath. We take 40,000 breaths in a day. I am aware about 95% of those breaths. And I just observe what's going on in the mind. I don't judge it. I don't control it. I don't dive deeper. I don't try to peel layers back. I just allow to see what comes up and through and be an observer of this human that I'm currently in. And usually at that 48 mark, it feels like I just either drank a full cup of yahe or ayahuasca, or sense myself on a 7-gram journey mushroom. But the beautiful thing about that is it's controllable. So I'm not like out there freaking out. Like if it just becomes too uncomfortable and unbearable, like you can bring yourself back to that state. But if you really lean in and surrender to just that openness that your spirit and your soul is craving for you to have, because there is a level of consciousness that exists inside the human that cannot be touched in our modern day society. And a lot of times we're filled with either poisons or toxins. Electromagnetic frequencies can even be another one of those. There's a lot of things that are pulling us away from the deep spiritual connection. There's a reason why in Bali or in like a lot of these sacred temples have very, very intrinsic designs, and how they were able to maintain a level of focus and attention to detail of all these designs. And they discovered other worlds outside of what we're experiencing with our 5 senses. And we have been disconnected and we lost that connection over, I would say, probably the past 300 years, probably longer than that, but I would say heavy in the past 300 years. And we've been merged into a technological society and we've been distracted in a lot of different ways. And again, these are rabbit holes. This is a red pill rabbit hole that I'll go deep down into. But ultimately, I think for simplicity, with not getting everyone's mind too off track, is I would say just start at 24 hours alone with water. That's it. And just see where that goes. And then we can start peeling more layers back, bite by bite. I like Keegan's thinking face.
This is the personal brand stuff, Chandler, that people are wanting to hear from you. Then you know what to do with it after that in lots of different ways with the insight you've given us around business and stuff. But this is you that's giving us even more reason of wanting to buy to you and to be challenged by that personal side of things that then goes into how to run the live events and how to build the business partnerships. It's really cool. Like that, we've had bits of touching on this stuff in our conversations, but
Yeah.
to see this side of you in front of a group as well.
Yeah. And I'm like, thank you for seeing me, and thank you for that acknowledgement. And Justin, I saw you went off mute too, and I'll drop in with you real quick. But the one piece that I want to throw in here is forget the mansions, forget the Maseratis and the Lamborghinis, forget the $1 million mark. Your highest level of fulfillment for this planet and for this world is going to be understanding yourself in the truest essence. And sometimes your purpose means just being a great father. Sometimes your purpose means being a world leader. Sometimes your purpose is having a farm. But the world on social media wants us to think that the most important thing is to have the beautiful babe with I gotta say it's slightly because there's kids around here, the beautiful babe with fake tits, and having the palace and castle and stuff like that. And like that can be a piece of it, but that's just the physical world, and that's a very limited world. There's a lot more expansiveness of depth to explore when you start tapping into it. And it all starts with sitting with yourself as a man in silence.
Yeah, Chandler, I really connected with what you were talking about. I'm Christian myself, so a lot of it was connecting with what I've gotten into and what I've learned more and more about self-reflection and prayer.
Yes.
What you're talking about with fasting, not for the purpose of diet,
Yes.
the purpose of distractions, trying to take you away from the purity of life.
Yes.
And that I talked a little bit about this on the other call. Max asked me what it means to be locked in. And I said that to run away from the demons that are trying to lock you out almost. And everything that you're saying is kind of helping me. I mean, it's just another perspective of like my faith in a way, right? And if I feel as though there's too many demons, intrusive thoughts, perverted thoughts going through my head of trying to take me away from the beautiful human design instead of the dark perspective of it. Sitting, reflecting, prayer is something that I cannot do, cannot not do. I have to do it every single day.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is just definitely very powerful. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that share. Prayer is very, very powerful. And there's a differentiating characteristics of prayer and meditation. And I feel that, some of the spiritual communities that I've personally been involved in and experienced is that they get merged together, and that prayer is this conversation that I can have with God, and then literally be on my knees and speaking to him. And then there's meditation, which is finding and discovering the expansiveness within inside of myself. And that's another form of connecting to God as well. But there's also it's almost like two different types and styles, and both are equally important. And maintaining these two really have allowed me to keep my vessel, my mind, body connection very pure.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the opportunity to have this time with you. And as much as we want to do the in-person live face-to-face stuff, there's some depth of connection building here, and definitely value in these environments. And it's definitely more powerful than messages back and forth on Telegram. So I appreciate you making time to have this. I'd rather do this once every 6 months than be messaging DMs back and forward all day. So thanks for jumping in. If you want to share some thoughts or wisdom with the guys there, they've put together some great stuff. Be cool to hear your thoughts, those who are tuning in. Thank you so much, and look forward to the next connection. plenty to go on with there, plenty to continue with this conversation on the human design side, on the business side, and then lots there at the end as well. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Much love.
Let's get a darkness retreat for Uncom planned.
I was half like thinking of messaging Lyndon while we're going through this. Of like we've got these locations in Montenegro, Vanuatu. Like it's perfect to be able to have these places where it's just like, yeah, you just go and chill out over there. No one's going to bother you. We can definitely do it in Montenegro. Like there's a hill there. No one ever goes anywhere up there. It's really easy to do that. And Vanuatu's pretty chill as well. So it's a cool thing.
A little rites of passage.
Yeah, 100%.
Initiation.
Yeah, it's something set up in the States. Yeah, check it out. We'll bring it up with Jorge. I'm sure we'll have it solved in the next 24 hours in Mexico as well.
We've got pro presentations coming up next. You want to move on to those?
Yeah.
Cool.
Take over.
Sure. Andres Rodriguez story is first up, and then we got Daniel, Ben, and Chris. Andres Rodriguez is most people know him as a video editor, or as the raw chicken boy, but he's currently adding a ton of value into the network through leveraging social media, helping guys, not only working with guys one-on-one and helping them create higher value content, but also teaching that process and what he's learned. Even few people on the call here have benefited a lot from the work that he's adding to the community. I've had the pleasure of living with him for 6 months and got to know him a lot more. I admire a lot of things about him. I think the biggest thing is his creativity and ideation. And if you come to him with an idea, it actually makes a lot of sense that he's a generator, because he's always building things, and he's a very, very creative mind. And today he's going to talk about how he ideated, filmed, wrote, and published a scale solution in 6 hours. So Andres, feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you for the intro. Yeah, super excited for this call. I've done, I think, 2 other calls before, and they've mostly been focused on content itself, but I kind of wanted to take a slightly different angle with this one because I thought there was a lot of power in creating my scale solution. Some people have theirs out, some people are still working on theirs or thinking about working on theirs. So my aim is to really help those people in particular that maybe have a lot of expertise in certain ideas, certain realms, and they haven't gotten those ideas out to the public yet. So I'm going to share my screen with the presentation. All right, so cool. Yeah, so this is like I said, this all just kind of happened in an afternoon, and I thought like this is an idea that needs to be shared, because if you are an expert in any field, I truly think you can go from just like an idea through the entire ideation, then building process, and then publishing it and start collecting emails with your scale solution a lot quicker than I previously thought. So, let's see. So like I said, that's the goal, is to just kind of give you the tools and an example of how I did mine so that you can build your scale solution like right now. Like after this call, you could probably get halfway through if you really wanted to. And I was just stuck for weeks overcomplicating what a scale solution looks like in my head. I thought it had to be this like elaborate thing with so many different parts to it. And I realized soon enough that that wasn't really the case. So if you guys have been to any of the scale solution calls, or if you know what a scale solution is, basically the purpose, from what I understand, is to get people to try something of value of yours. For me, that was helping people with either video editing, or the second scale solution I had was coming up with video ideas, because those are 2 things that I feel I'm pretty good at helping people with, and a lot of people need help with. So they were pretty easy to figure out what I should do for my scale solution. And then, of course, using the scale solution to then get people to buy into more of what you have to offer. For me, that is my higher ticket courses or my done for you editing service offer. So the 2 scale solutions I have right now, and I'm planning on building others, is my 5-star Reels course and my best name I could have come up with in the moment. My Never Run Out of Video Ideas course. So those are the two that I built within Notion and have them live right now through my Instagram page. So the question can come up, like I mentioned before, like what solution should you provide? And I think the reason I chose those two is because that's what I see myself as essentially an expert in those two, especially the editing side. And that's why that was my first scale solution. And why, I mean, it might be obvious, but why choose something that you're an expert in? It's a lot easier on you. I'm going to have a much easier time explaining to someone how to edit a video than I'm going to have explaining to someone, you know, squatting 400 pounds. Like I haven't experienced that and I don't really know how to get there. So focusing your scale solutions on what you are the most expert in is just the logical thing to do. You're going to be able to execute that scale solution faster and easier, and it is your best value. So you're putting your best foot forward for the people that you're trying to help with the thing you have the most value in. So here's just a couple examples I came up with for picking your topic, and it really can be this simple. What, you know, sleep coach, here's a 5-step pre-sleep routine process. You can put that together into a 5-step little mini course with some YouTube videos or some videos that you film, some text on screen. Cross-country strength coach, here's a 20-minute off-season strength guide. That's a very easy buy-in. I was a cross-country runner, which is why I came up with that idea. And if I saw that, I mean, every cross-country runner knows they're weak in basically every aspect of their body. So you see that, you're going to be pretty enticed to look into it further. There's some other examples there that you can read. I think the sales coach one is good. You can take a bunch of DM screenshots of making a sale that you have, either with your own product or clients' products, and then just discuss how that DM went down. If you have like 20 screenshots and you're like, this is what went down, this is how I overcame this objection, this is what you should say in a case like this, and you're just providing a high amount of value with something that, if you are a sales coach, is going to be relatively easy for you to execute that scale solution. So then from here, like I was explaining before, you want to turn this into a really simple, easy to follow along guide. So this is my first scale solution, the 5-star Reels course. As you can see, there are 9 parts, 9 modules to it. And within each one of those parts is simply a video of me editing with a voiceover and then some brief text underneath. Each part I'm very good at doing because I've been practicing editing for a very long time. So it was as simple as turning on my screen recording, doing the editing, speaking what I'm doing, rinse and repeat for 9 parts. If you're really good at something like I was with editing, you can do this entire thing in an afternoon. Like I remember when I filmed this a while back, I think I filmed all the parts in about an hour and a half, and then it was maybe another hour and a half to put it all together in an edited video. So you want to chunk out, like I was saying with these 9 parts, just chunk out your information, your value. If that's the sleep coach with the 5 pre-sleep routine, you know, chunk it out into 5 parts. And then I would highly recommend having a video and text for each. I think they both have their value. If you only have text, it can look a little bit boring or a little bit daunting to just read however many words you have. If you have a video to sort of introduce what the text has, or vice versa, text to introduce the video, it's a lot easier to digest the information, and you're hitting people with 2 angles, the video and the text angle. And I'll get into how I delivered it in a bit, but basically I saved it to Google Drive and made it publicly accessible through a link, and that'll become important in a sec. And this is simply how you turn any Notion page. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Notion. I know Max is a big fan. You just take any Notion page that you have, you turn it into a PDF, and there's a couple settings here you can play around with to format it, and that's essentially it. And I didn't know you could do this earlier. I only found out about a month ago. So this is super powerful to turn just a large database of information that you have within Notion into a PDF that you can email to people, text to people, set up with an email automation, whatever it is. So then how I delivered it. So this is also quite new to me with a website called Carrd, CARRD.co. It's either free or $20 a year, so it's very affordable. And this is essentially the solution I see myself using moving forward for my website, my link in bio, email collection, and loads more that I haven't even discovered yet. Before I had a link tree, which some people liked, some people didn't. I was kind of indifferent to it. This has provided everything I want out of a link tree, or sorry, out of a link in bio, out of a website, email collection, all in one. And it's infinitely customizable. It's very affordable and fairly easy to learn. So this is how I currently deliver that scale solution that I built in just a few hours. There's an email collection, and when they hit this button, it takes them to that publicly accessible Google Drive. And then it's as simple as that. I collect their name and email. They hit that button, it takes them directly to the PDF, and it's super simple, easy to understand. When people click my link in bio, this is the first thing they see. It's just an intro video to what I offer, a big text that says get my free courses or my scale solutions, 2 buttons to download both of those two, and they'll take you to a page just like this. So it's really clean. It's really easy for people to digest. And then for getting started with all these things, I'm not going to go into the details of how to use Carrd, Notion, MailChimp, but I would just recommend looking at YouTube videos on how to learn those. And yeah, just kind of speed ran through that. But yeah, just hopefully this was encouraging and helpful to just get a scale solution out relatively quickly. I'm a really, really big believer when it comes to either creating content, or in this case, creating a scale solution, that if you are truly an expert or on your way to becoming an expert in anything, you can put out an immense amount of value that other people will see as like expert level knowledge. And to you, it was just like an afternoon's thought that took you 10 minutes to put together. So all of you in this call, I know, have that thing that you can talk about it for 10 minutes and people will ponder on those thoughts for like weeks because they were so powerful. So like taking what that is for you and putting it into a Notion, turning your camera on, filming a simple 5-minute YouTube video, making it a PDF, attaching it to MailChimp. You can do it in an afternoon, and you can do it multiple times with multiple different ideas. So yeah, that's that.
I think that's the biggest thing you've been impacting me lately on, is just like that last idea you're talking about, where most everybody on this call, if they made a 10-minute video talking about something that really, like if Daniel was like, hey, here's a sleep video, if he just turned the camera on and ripped it, pretty much what he's going to do on this presentation, like that, he's going to share some ideas that are going to cause all of us to be like, oh shit, like I didn't think about that. And then, yeah, like something I felt a lot is that I'm thinking I need to write this all out and have it perfectly scripted and all of this stuff. But yeah, you're helping me think a little differently about that.
Yeah, like when you introduced me to the self stuff, to you, it was just like a conversation while eating a steak. And to me, I was just like, whoa, like what are you talking about? So like, yeah, we all have that thing that we can, like Daniel's going to do, just rip it for 5 minutes and it's immense value, and then add, 500 to 1,000 words of text. And all of a sudden you have a nice looking PDF with an immense amount of value that you went start to finish with in under an hour. And that's where also like using your most valuable skills, I think, becomes important. Like for me, it was the editing and the video idea creation. Next one I'm working on is how to make a YouTube video every single day in under an hour of effort. That's something that I know how to do well. So that'll be the next one. Yeah.
Awesome. Does anybody have any quick questions for Andres?
Not as much a question, but a little gratitude and getting me to just not overthink it and make too much of it, and really just pull the cord and do it, and get the things out there and actually let the content or the market kind of dictate if it's worth a shit or not. There's always that if it like feeling like, oh, it's got to be all this, it's got to be great, hypercritical on ourselves. But the reality is, like, we're hypercritical because we're the most informed on it, but everybody else is not informed, and you could easily be giving them a dozen great things that they could get started with, and we're just holding ourselves to an unnecessarily high level when it comes to just getting the people excited and started. So thank you for that clarity.
Yeah, of course. Happy to help. Any other questions before we go on to Ben?
What does raw chicken taste like?
Tastes
Just
good.
No,
That tastes
yeah, let's I think we're moving on to Daniel next, and then maybe at
Okay.
the end, if you guys all want to stick on, we could go back to questions if you want. But Daniel, owner of Uncom Mexico, co-owner of the Village. I've known Daniel for quite a while on the network. He's a very genuine, deep guy. I really admire how easily he can connect with people. And I don't know his full story, but I know that he's gotten deeply into this sleeping stuff, and he has a lot of value that he wants to share with us about. Mainly what he said is he's going to share the only biohacking principle you'll ever need to figure out whether any sleep hack genuinely improves your recovery. So Daniel, please take it away.
Thank you. I appreciate that introduction. Yeah, Max, first of all, really appreciate you guys for putting this on. A lot of gratitude for everyone here. I see you, Andres, with the blue light blocking glasses over there. That's honestly something that I've just taken on, even if it's not true, as a trademark. Anytime I see anyone with blue light blocking glasses, that's me. That's me. Even if they've never, boom, there's another one. You see it? It keeps going. So think of me anytime you see someone with blue light blocking glasses. They're really good for you. Seriously, if you've never considered it, get into it. If that's the only thing you ever hear about sleep, all of us are locked in to technology, right? We're using this all the time. And we're in these gyms with fluorescent lighting, everything. I'm not going to get into it, but blue light blocking glasses are great. Red lenses, amazing. So let me go ahead and share my screen over here. Everyone give me a thumbs up if you can see this. Sick. So yeah, as Max said, this is my attempt at teaching you pretty much the only tool here. I've renamed it actually the first tool you'll need, but the only tool genuinely that you'd ever really need to biohack your sleep, and specifically for you guys, for entrepreneurs, for those who want to build their businesses. So sleep experts and self-improvement gurus, they throw out a ton of sleep hacks to improve recovery, and they claim incredible benefits from everything that they say. But how can you filter? How do you know whether or not to trust someone when they're telling you, no, I promise you this supplement, ashwagandha, is the thing. For sure, it's the thing. And then the next month they're on to something else, right? How do you know if they're just trying to sell it to you? Well, the standard for scientists is peer-reviewed data and review of that data over a long period of time. This usually takes decades. It's incredibly slow. And if we're waiting for the data to come out, it's usually not practical. So we often turn to coaches. The standard for coaches is usually whatever tends to work for them and whatever tends to work for their clients, which is much more practical. But what if you don't have a good coach? What if the advice that your coach had for himself and what worked for him isn't going to work for you? How will you know? I recommend you take control of your sleep health by asking yourself the simple question: does it work for me? While it's valuable to consult a sleep specialist, why would you leave it up to chance? By learning how to confirm if an action you take is actually worth your effort, you'll stop wasting your time and you'll stop chasing gimmicks. You'll be able to gain more energy to chase after your goals. So how do we actually measure recovery? Well, the greatest single tool that we have to measure neurological recovery. So this is not, do my muscles feel sore? This is not, can I go on and slam another 100 sets of bicep curls? This is your nervous system recovered? Are you able to adapt to the stress that you've put onto your body the previous day? All types of stress. So again, we're talking about the nervous system here. Have I recovered in my nervous system to take on the next day properly? The best tool that we have is grip strength. So the best investment you could possibly make for your own recovery, honestly, isn't sleep coaching. And that's coming from a sleep coach. Like, I want you to take my coaching, but buy a dynamometer. If you're serious about recovery, especially if you're interested in athleticism, especially if you really, really care about biohacking, this tool, and Keegan's been using this tool as a, professional rugby coach, when he was working with the City Roosters, when he was working with teams, he had the guys test their grip strength before they went onto the field. This is a very, very good way to test your grip strength, to test your, again, neurological recovery. Just make sure you're not using one of these devices here on the right. Yes, you can get stronger with your grip over time, but it's not a very accurate way of measuring or keeping data. So how do you actually do it? Well, you test in the morning. So every single morning I recommend after you wake up, again, this is just a measure of like, did I recover well or not? So in order to get accurate results from testing any specific intervention, so does ashwagandha help for stress, right? Does ashwagandha help for my recovery? Well, you need to establish a baseline. So at least over 10 days, if you don't have one, if you've never used, a grip device, if you don't know what your grip strength is currently, establish a baseline, get a sense for what your normal variance is. Look, if you go out on the weekends and you drink, the next morning it's going to be down a bit. You didn't get weaker. Your neurological recovery just took a hit. So you need to get a sense for over your normal lifestyle. Don't change your lifestyle. Just see how it dips and how it goes up over time. And then once you have that baseline, at least over 10 days, ideally a couple of weeks or more, test one intervention at a time. So whether it's taking a particular supplement, whether it's using something like ice baths, or if you take my recommendation, do something really simple like wear blue light blocking glasses. I recommend you go ahead and test this. Don't wear blue light blocking glasses if you have them. Test your recovery the next day. Like use lights, use whatever you want. And you're going to see that your score, your grip strength score, if you measure it, it's going to be worse in the morning. And if you use the blue light blocking glasses, and again, like this is the thing that allows you to test for yourself. Do not believe someone if they tell you that this works for sleep. Don't believe me if I tell you, use a measuring device on yourself. And then if your score is better than the baseline, happy days. You may have found a useful recovery practice. All right, this is great. You can use a dynamometer, but what if you don't have one and you want to test something right now? Well, luckily there's a free tool that you don't need to buy anything. You don't need to do anything other than practice a little bit to be able to accurately measure your recovery on your own. And that is CO2 tolerance or BOLT score. I actually kind of want to mess up the order of these presentations a little bit. Ben Watson has been my breath coach for over 2 years now. And if I can invite him to unmute and just quickly teach us actually how to measure BOLT score, it's going to be useful for his presentation. Ben, if you're game.
Always, bro. Great energy. All right, you're looking healthy as ever as well, bro. That's yeah, wow, awesome, love it, gents. I like this to me. Thanks for this is the easiest way that I navigate how I'm going to set up my day. Why? Because how you breathe during the day is how you'll rest at night, how you'll breathe during night. So look, when you wake up in the morning before stimulants, that's the goal here, to intervene and to check in with your breath before there's any other like inputs put into your body. So sit on the edge of your bed, have a little timer, and all you're going to do is you're focusing on a normal breath in so that you're not taking yourself into these like Wim Hofs, where you're not like too relaxed. You're in that normal homeostasis. So take a normal breath in, normal breath out, and you pinch and hold. And then from there, that's when you're sort of like, yeah, go Max. You'll find a moment either in your throat or your belly that will actually kick. And that's your body telling you that there's a limit to how much oxygen in your blood, and that's your threshold. So the BOLT score, blood oxygen limit threshold. Yeah, And then now you're starting to tap into over time, you find an average, and then that would dictate what program you sort of get into with your breathing work. And yeah, all of my athletes have a certain score that we're attaining towards. So I just went free balling on that for a second. Let me read Dan's notes for a second because these are gold. Yeah. So I wouldn't breathe fully out. You want to keep a little bit of a residual lung in there. So don't empty your lung fully so that you're still actually keeping some of that beautiful stuff that we're trying to react to in there. And yes, it's a strong urge, but when you release, you want to actually return back to the same normal breathing that you had at the start. Dan, awesome legend. Please
Amazing.
go over again, brother.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, guys, I've been working with Ben Watson on the breath for a long time, and he, even as a recovery specialist, he got me to the absolute next level in my own recovery. It was insane seeing the difference. And then again, having this extra tool in the toolkit where you need something to measure. Again, what I've promised you here in this presentation is one thing that you need, that you'll need to be able to biohack your sleep. And so what I've given you is the dynamometer, but what Ben can offer you is your own breath and your awareness of your nervous system using something like the breath. And this is what I actually use. I consider it to be more precise than actually measuring your grip strength, because there are other factors that can measure there. It's a really good tool, and a lot of professionals use this, but I actually recommend and I prefer the Bolt Score because I've spent time invested in Ben Watson, learning how to navigate this for myself. It does take a little bit of practice, and I recommend working with an expert. But like I said, this is just an alternative tool. So if you don't want to buy, a device, then you can learn a skill and you're still able to do all of the things essentially that I've recommended here. So there are some limitations to this method in terms of measurement. You do need to find a baseline. This is the most important thing. I've repeated myself over and over, because if you don't have a baseline, if you don't understand where your body is normally and how it normally varies, you're going to test something and then there's going to be some result. You'll have a random number. If the first day you ever test your Bolt Score, the first day you ever test your grip strength, you tried some new recovery hack, you have no idea if it did anything. So hopefully that's obvious to everyone, but get a baseline first. Second, test often and not randomly. Ideally, this would be every single day at the same time. This is why both Ben and I recommend testing these kinds of things when you wake up in the morning before you take stimulants. It's a test of your nervous system. If you're feeling jacked up, or if you're feeling super tired and you need to get jacked up by drinking coffee or, whatever it is, you're not in the regular nervous system. So again, test often, not randomly. The scores are probably going to improve over time on their own because you're measuring them. So that's just a caveat that I'll throw in there. Like, I don't want you thinking that, oh, I'm getting amazing recovery and it's just going up and up and up and up. You're probably going to improve. When you test things, they're likely to improve. Again, this is like the simplest, easiest way. Dynamometer, grip strength number 1. Number 2, the one that I actually prefer. If you learn how to use it, Bolt Score, testing yourself in the nervous system. Am I recovered? This is going to allow you to test any other intervention, whether I tell you, whether you see it on the Andrew Huberman podcast, or you see it online, or some schmuck on the side of the road. If he tells you something, instead of writing him off and saying like, that guy's a crackhead, maybe he is, but what if he's the smartest guy who's ever lived and you didn't know? You can actually test these things. If you know how to test your nervous system, you can test whether or not this stuff is going to work. If you don't know how to navigate this data and you need more support, let me know. You can DM me on Instagram. My DMs are always open, especially for Uncom guys. I'm always going to give out free consults to you guys. This is going to be something that I'll commit to for the rest of the time that I'm a professional in this. If you're an Uncom, I will give you a recovery consult for free. Please, information should be free. This is a fundamental aspect of my philosophy. Information should be free, and I'll allow you any access to that I possibly can. I've helped a couple of guys here actually with their sleep. Nick, thank you so much for being the first person to really push me towards working towards this. It means a lot. And with that, we can open up for questions on specific recovery things or just in general.
What would you say are your top 3? I think we've had a discussion about this, like top 3 tips for sleep in terms of hierarchy and prioritizing.
Number 1, 100%, it's the sun. It's get outside in the sunshine every single day. Look, people misunderstand this tip. They think if I don't live in Cancun, Mexico, or if I don't live in Puerto Rico, I'm not in the tropics, I can't possibly benefit from this. The sun does not care about clouds. You do not understand how powerful the sun is. UV radiation penetrates cloud cover. It doesn't matter if it's the dead of winter. If the sun is in the sky and you can see the sky, it is going to benefit you. I promise you, as long as you're not wearing sunglasses. So go outside, get your eyes on the sky. Don't stare at the sun, please. I actually do, but there's a safe way to do that. So expose yourself to the sun is number 1. The light is always going to be the most important part of the story. Always. Off the back of that, have a dim environment when you go to sleep. So for at least 30 minutes before you go to sleep, you should have a bedtime. Yes, we're adults. If you want to wake up at a certain time every single day, it makes sense to go to bed at the same time every single day. When you want to start calming yourself down, turn off the lights, put on those blue blockers, dim your computer screen, dim your phone screen. The number of people that I see running around with full brightness on their iPhones, it's insane. Just dim it a little bit. I promise you your brain's going to be okay. You'll still be able to read the screen. I mean, jump off social media in general, but you're going to use your phone. I know it's realistic to use technology before bed. Just dim the screens, dim the lights. You'll be okay. And the third one I'm going to say is don't eat before bed. So you've heard this a lot before. If you're going to eat big meals, a lot of us are carnivore or we eat a lot of meat. It's a lot of work to digest meat. So give yourself 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. You're not going to wake up in the middle of the night with indigestion. So in order again, sunlight, exposing yourself to sunlight, going outside. It doesn't matter if you feel good in the sun. If it's cold and rainy outside, you are still rainy too. You are still getting the benefits. So go outside every single day, literally 5 minutes a day. And this is shown in the clinical literature. So, I mean, I read the studies. I don't want you to think I poo-poo on science. Like I read the clinical literature, even 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes a day at like Boston latitudes. So relatively high north has enough of an effect, especially for Caucasians, to have huge benefits. Literally 5 minutes a day can benefit you. The more, the better. Fruit in the evening. Fruit in the evening is actually a really interesting one because, so Zach Hardisty here, for those who didn't see, Hardisty, if I don't eat fruit 30 minutes before bed, I wake up starving. This makes a lot of sense. What's happening in your body? Well, I mean, there might be some, you've trained yourself to do this, so it's difficult to go away from this, but carbohydrates are going to spike your blood sugar. And once that blood sugar drops off, you feel tired. The other thing that happens in your gut is you're able to synthesize serotonin. So your gut actually produces serotonin, which is, you know, if you're not on antidepressants and you're getting serotonin from your diet, you feel warm, safe, happy after consuming carbohydrates. This is why eating pasta is going to make you feel kind of drowsy. Eating a big meal with carbohydrates is going to make you feel drowsy afterwards. Whereas strict carnivore, if you've ever done it, any of you guys, you feel way more energized, even like hours and hours after your meal. Carbohydrates is going to drop your energy after a certain point, and you can use this to fall asleep. When I was an insomniac, I would often actually eat food, like a bunch of carbohydrates, a bunch of sugar. And then if you wait about 30 minutes to an hour, your blood sugar is going to go and crash, and you'll feel tired enough to fall asleep.
Thank you. I was learning about biphasic sleeping, where I'm the type that I'll fall asleep around 9:30, 10, but by about 2:30, I wake up and I'm kind of stuck awake sometimes for a couple hours. And then I started hearing about this. Any tips on either getting back to sleep or something that should be done when you do hit those middle of the night wake ups? Or should I not make too much of it, just do some shit for a few hours, and then when I'm ready to sock back out, go back to sleep?
So great question. First, I want to address just the thing you threw in there, biphasic sleeping. If you guys don't know what this is where you split up sleep into multiple phases. So you might sleep for 2 hours and then 2 more hours and then another 2 hours, or that'd be triphasic technically, but you split it up into multiple sections of sleeping. It can be done. It can be done pretty well. I know Max has actually done some research on this as well. I find it incredibly inefficient. Wouldn't try to sleep in different sections. It gets really tricky. And if you don't follow that, the biggest thing with sleep quality, guys, is consistency. It is more important than how many hours you sleep. It's, are you consistent with your sleep? So if you consistently wake up at 2 a.m. and you consistently fall asleep after 2 or 3 hours of being awake, then it's actually potentially not that bad if you're recovering okay. What's more likely happening in terms of your psychology is that we wake up in the middle of the night. This has happened for me a lot as well. This happens to my father. This happens to a lot of us. And I helped Alvin. He's an uncom. I helped Alvin deal with this as well. It's a psychological problem. We wake up in the middle of the night and cool, like that's normal. Everybody actually wakes up in the middle of the night. You don't know it necessarily. Every single person here wakes up in the middle of the night. The difference for most people is that they can fall asleep within about 5 minutes or so, or they don't even remember that they woke up. It just gets wiped from your memory. But everyone wakes up. Oftentimes, the reason why you stay awake is psychological. So what are the thoughts that are happening inside of your brain? What is your ability to down-regulate and calm your nervous system back down? This is something that Dan DePauw taught me to a huge degree. So using a specific intervention like TRE, trauma release exercises, or using a specific thing like box breathing, many different types of breath work can help ground people. If they're new to breath work, almost any breath work can help them, honestly. And if you want the elite protocol, again, go to Ben Watson. He'll be after this and he'll teach you a little bit about that. doing breath work in the middle of the night is really going to help you calm down. This is the way that I really look at it, though, to like succinctly answer your question. Block off time in your mind when you go to sleep for recovery. If you're an insomniac or you struggle with falling asleep or staying asleep, you're hearing from a lot of people that you need 8 hours of sleep, otherwise you're fucked. And this just creates stress. So instead of saying, I'm going to go to sleep and stay asleep, say to yourself, I'm going to recover for 8 hours. I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to recover for 8 hours. If you're lucky, you stay asleep for that time. But if you're unlucky, well, good. Like use that unluckiness and develop a skill to actually still recover. Learn how to harness the power of your breath. Learn how to harness the power of your thoughts. I'm talking about meditation. Learn a skill that's going to down-regulate you, even if you are awake. If you want to look up something specific, I recommend, what is it, NSDR, non-rest deep sleep. I messed up that acronym, but it's Yoga Nidra.
Non-sleep deep rest.
Non-sleep deep rest. Thank you. Thank you, Max, for saving me. Non-sleep deep rest. That's what I do in the middle of the night if I can't fall asleep. Do not look at your phone. If you expose yourself to light, either overhead light in your room, if it's like a small, especially red lamp next to your bed, you're fine. But if you look at your phone, I swear to you, if you look at your phone or you turn on a light, like the bathroom light when you go to bed, you can operate in the dark. I promise you know where your own toilet is. Do not turn on a light. You will tank your melatonin. Your melatonin will go to shit and you will not be able to fall asleep. And then you'll wonder, why can't I fall asleep? It's because you messed up your own biology. And it's not your fault. No one ever told you this, but now you know. Don't look at light, even if you're awake for multiple hours. If you really, really want to work, then prioritize that. But recognize that you're sacrificing sleep quality, you're sacrificing your hormonal health for work, and that's totally okay. But make the decision. I always prioritize recovery at night if I can, within reason. And it doesn't matter if I'm asleep. Learn other skills, basically. And then you'll be able to address sort of this like 2 to 3 hour gap in the middle of the night. It's really, really boring, especially if you're coming off of substances that have helped like sleep in the past, because I had to come off, I quit weed to fix my insomnia as well. And it's really difficult because your sleep gets jacked up. So learn other skills, meditation, non-sleep deep rest, yoga nidra, breath work, ton of stuff can help. Don't look at your phone, don't look at lights.
Chris, I want to share one other thing with that Ben taught me is Ben gave me this breathwork style. It was 4-20-16. So 4 seconds in, 20-second hold, 6. No, wait, no. Maybe I got it off. Ben,
4-16, 4-16-8. It's called triangle breathing.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing that they've actually studied to produce more REM sleep in your night. So yeah.
So it'd be 4 seconds in, 16 hold, and then 8 out. Or you can like scale it, right? So it'd be like 3, 12, 4, or
yeah, because your whole goal of doing it is to be in a relaxed state. If it's a heavy breath, you've got to down regulate to a level that is still silent, calm, to the point that you can't hear it. Otherwise, you're not optimizing your uptake of oxygen. And now it's a stressor. It's the Wim Hofs.
Let's go straight into it, Ben.
Yeah, love to.
Yeah, Ben, I could do a quick intro. Well, I'll try to keep it short. Ben,
Keep it short.
I also have worked with Ben, and instead of saying most admire, I say least admires his mouth breathing. It kind of gets annoying. But no, I'm just kidding. He's a great coach. Daniel's been working with him 2 years. I worked with Ben right when he started launching his courses, and he has an exceptional amount of care for his clients. And I can only imagine it's probably gotten even better as he's growing as a businessman. And he's also deeply passionate about training knowledge, and he's always diving down these little rabbit holes of movement. And today he's going to share about rotational movement training.
We're going on the breathing, Maximus. I sent you a message. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, you switched the presentation.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get into the RMT later as another implement. But
Cool.
so my scale solution. Okay, basically, gents, jump in the chat for me, because depending on where you are at, as in like it's bloody 10 a.m. in the morning right now, so I'm doing a different breathing protocol than I would be doing if it's in the evening. So jump in the chat, tell me if it's PM or AM your way, and I'll give you a quick little debrief as to why I sort of have this, I guess, passion behind it. So I'm MMA fighter, by trade and jiu-jitsu brown belt. So I've been training in martial arts for my whole life. But what's powerful about that is like I'm very skilled at navigating combat in an essence one-on-one and understanding whether or not there is a stress or a calm situation happening in these intense situations. So from that knowledge of how people sort of breathe, you can start to navigate whether or not they have energy or not. So my passion comes from building a deeper tolerance towards navigating stress. So I see a lot of PMs there, so that we're going to actually do the opposite of what I would be doing in the morning. And we're actually going to try something, gents, called a breath out score. And so this is one of my favorite things to actually do when I'm feeling these moments that Dan was just talking about, where it's like, oh, how do I intercept how do I navigate away from this overthinking? And so we're actually going to look at taking a full lung in. And so I want you guys to feel this. This is the action here. If you can feel this, then that's going to be a benefit towards not only you, but you'll understand deeper of what's happening in your body. So we're going to work on a full breath in, and I'll be starting the timer all as a team here. We're going to lengthen our exhale as much as possible. The longer the score, the longer the time, the better the score. Now, I won't tell you what my score is until everyone's had a go of it. So what we're going to do is we've got 30-second countdown. Okay, so come on, Justin, get in position, mate. Good posture, brother. Yeah, bro. All right, so gents, big breaths in, all right? So don't overdo it, but you're just trying to find that fully expanded lung, okay? And I'll give you a countdown. We've got maybe 2 more breath cycles here. Find that full lung in, full lung out. Breathe it all out, breathe it all out. And we'll go for 1 more. And on this one, breathing in fully, keep going, hold at the top. And we're going to start our timer now. So slow down your exhale. Think of it coming out a straw. The idea is to lengthen this very calmly and passively to a point that is barely trickling out the nose. Don't pause. Hold on to the idea that you're dominating the eccentric motion of the rep. Slow it down. Keep going. We're coming up to 30 seconds. Stay in there. Slowly, even restrict it a smidgen more. 36. Keep going. There's more in there. There's more to get rid of. 45. Keep going. Good work. There we go. That was 52. 55. Nice, Pat. Stay with it. Keep going. There's more in there. Minute. Yeah. Good. Minute 4. I think it's just minute 8, 9. Dylan's still going. Keep going. No, okay. So this is the power, right? Like we actually know that there's something still in that lung and we have to be able to get rid of it. But in this same exercise, what you're doing is the magic of what sort of I live in, the parasympathetic state. Because as soon as you breathe out, your body is now able to have less space around the chest cavity, not putting pressure on the heart and allowing the heart rate to drop. So in that knowledge, why don't we just spend more time in the exhale, allowing our heart rate to be slower and calmer? And one other thing that I'm going to get you to try, and you should be able to do this quite easily, is the presence of saliva in the mouth. That would present that you're actually in the parasympathetic state. So test this out, everyone. Can you swallow and then maintain the position that the swallow accesses with the tongue? So wherever your tongue rests, the roof of the mouth, after you swallow, keep that tongue posture. Now, if you can't swallow, that would mean that you're not in the parasympathetic state, because parasympathetic means you're resting, digesting, and healing. And so I use this as a marker or a way to assess whether or not people are in the parasympathetic state or the sympathetic state. Now, did everyone able to swallow, right? Like that was fine. Let's add some ATG principles over the top of this now. Try it with a full grin. So you're going to go to a cheesy grin and then swallow 3 times. This will really weed out the people that aren't in the parasympathetic. Okay, so big cheesy grin and then swallow 3 times. Come on, Nick. I know you got a big gin. Justin, smile away, bro. Yeah, Dan, look at these plastomoids are powerful. And so it's powerful. Yeah, go on. Find that swallow. Nice, Maximus. Yes. Did anyone feel any clicks in their back or even struggle with that as well? Yeah. So this helps us center and bring ourselves into like that deeper posture of our diaphragmatic core engaging as well. So I'll open it up to questions in a second, but ultimately my goal was to make you guys feel the difference between either a sympathetic state and a parasympathetic state. And so my scale solution is just plain and simple to get people to do 3 scores throughout their day. We take their heart rate at the first part of the morning, then we do the BOLT score. And I'm glad Dan touched on that a little bit, because there's a lot of knowledge out there, or a lot of videos out there already on that. But the other side is in the evening, sit down and do a breath out score. And my breath out score at the moment is about 220 to 225. And you guys are about halfway there. So yeah. Come on, Pat, you gotta step up your game, double a minute on that. But so yeah, legends, if you're able to function more in the exhale, you'll start adapting more parasympathetic toning throughout your day. And by taking 3 of these scores, you start to build a deeper intuition into understanding how to work with your breath instead of catching your breath throughout the day. So if anything of this resonated to you, get on my Instagram or Telegram, just message me base, and I'll send you out a free little step-by-step guide to start taking those scores. And yeah, it'd be awesome to connect with all of you Uncom legends and actually help you on your breath journey. Because the kicker is, man, like I see it in day-to-day with martial arts, like no one has great breathing. It's like 90% of the world's population has bad breathing patterns. And I can force people, men and women, into bad breathing patterns that then now ruin their performance ratio. You can only perform as good as you can actually breathe, and how you breathe during the day is how you'll breathe during night. So breathing is the biggest key to everything. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with Dan further as he takes it a whole nother step further and adds on that level of the sleep as well, which I am so excited to have someone in the group actually double down on that, because you are looking healthy, bro. That it's a noticeable change in the face. Hey, yeah. Any questions, legend? Let's fire them up before Dan and I just start throwing out. And Maximus.
I
Any
have a
questions,
question, Ben. Between the two, the breath earlier, the 4, 16, 8, compared to this long exhale, the hold, the 16 hold, wouldn't that be after an inhale? Wouldn't that be not going at the parasympathetic because you're on an inhale hold? Or if you could give some clarity on that.
Great question, Chris. And the game with that is that you've got to find it to a relaxed state. So if I took you up to level 6, where you're breathing in for 6 and holding for 24, now you're probably pushing that area of sympathetic. But 4 in, 16 out, if you have a BOLT score of upwards of 25 to 30, that should be pretty comfortable. So it's about navigating these things together. And so I will use other tests as well in order to program things. Like your BOLT score would dictate what MBT you have. Your BOLT score and your breath out score start to like look similar. So the answer to that, the short answer to that question would be, we need to make it easy. And that's why Max said there's a scale option to it. If that's too challenging and putting you in sympathetic, let's drop it down to 3 seconds. 3 seconds in, 12-second hold, 6 seconds out. And that's so easy, you know what I mean? That like now we're actually starting to shift it in. And none of the breathing, I'm not going to swear. Mouth breathing is a sympathetic state. And if you are forcing yourself to do Wim Hof, you're doing a lot of reps for very low reward. And this is not what I'm trying to teach. I'm trying to teach in this center zone that it's so easy, so present in your day that you can do it anywhere and everywhere. And we need to find where that easy thing is. And that's why I've sort of built out those different options, Chris. Little long-winded answer. So yeah, 4, 16, 8 is too hard. Jump it down to 3.
Awesome. Thank you.
Zach said doing Wim Hof through the nose. What do you think of that, Ben?
Yeah, I rate that, Zach. Thanks, Max. Yeah, I like whenever I'm in them circles or whatever, you know, like I just do it through the nose, bro. So, and I lead different Wim Hof, like if I'm doing a group session leading and like the group is calling for that sort of Wim Hof thing, I'll redirect it a little bit away from the hyperventilation, because hyperventilation could be causing a lot of disease in our world and a lot of stress, and a lot of people are already stressed. I'll actually navigate it towards a calmer state where you work on your nose and you're not trying to push the breath hold into a very, very elevated state where you fucking black out. I swore. But that's the game. Like people like see it at Wim Hof's as like this, like I need to push myself past this barrier of perceived things so that I can black out. And that's just doesn't make sense. That's them, their drug, like that's them seeking the next drug thing. But the real truth is in your breath. Like that's the rep.
Ben, I was curious.
Cool.
This is of course it's kind of both for you and Dan, but it's breathing, sleeping, more sleeping. But I'm just curious. I've been playing around with this guy who is kind of like a health guy on TikTok. He follows like biblical references and connects it to like health.
Love it.
Okay, so he's the protocol that I've been following, kind of that he's been trying, for sleep it's been very beneficial for me, but experimenting with different wake up times. So I'm reading what he has here. It's between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. Supposedly the best dopamine, serotonin, cortisol, and GABA release. Is that accurate? That's part of the question. And then 6 to 9 hours of sleep, that's what he's trying to say, and then go to bed with the sun as soon as it is dark, preferably 9 p.m. And supposedly that will give you 90% more serotonin. So I was curious what your thoughts, kind of both you guys, on that.
Yeah, I'll jump on that bit real quick. Like love it. All of these things make absolute sense, bro. That's part of a circadian rhythm. It's a natural phenomena that, you know, that we have naturally. But the real game here is like what's your, like I'm trying to tap into what is the perfect rep. What's happening in that rep sequence? And the only way that you can control your breathing while you're asleep, because that's subconscious now, is you have to actually use, like how you breathe during the day is how you'll breathe during night. So like, man, like I can function, like I'm not trying to advocate for low amounts of sleep or anything, because I absolutely love sleep. It's the best healing mechanism. But everyone tries to find 1%, bro, in diet, timing of things, steroids, supplements. But you don't have any of these performance markers if you don't have good breathing, because you get tired. And as soon as you get tired and you start over breathing, what's amazing happens as soon as the bond between the oxygen and the hemoglobin, the red blood cell, that gets tighter. And that's why people black out, man. That's when black belts make white belt decisions. And, you know, oh, got the neck now, even though you're a black belt, because they're over breathing and they're reducing the amount of oxygen to their brain. And that's why you black out when you do Wim Hofs and feel that drug-like effect. So look, I love it. Yeah, implement that. But what's the kicker, man, here is that like we can access something that's free. It's medicine that's right underneath our nose. And no one's talking about it because no one takes any care of it until it's necessary. And guess what? Then it's too late, bro. It's too late. Not to like create scarcity, but it is. People only care about breathing, man, when it's the like, you know, the be all and end all. Dan, please jump in, bro, because I'm sure you'll add some gems to that.
Yeah, first I just want to affirm what Ben's saying. I went from an insomniac getting about 4 hours of sleep a week to basically average. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Basically average. Like I slept okay, but it was not good. It was not great sleep, and it was the breathing that took me from genuinely like average sleep to like elite level, and that's what has facilitated genuinely every single improvement in my life, from spiritual development, from consciousness development, from understanding myself from a psychological point of view. Obviously training and physical stuff is pretty obvious. Sleep is going to improve that, but everything, emotional regulations, I have better relationships now. And it was the sleep, it was the breathing as it relates to getting better sleep and recovery that really pushed me over that edge to like become elite. So as you begin to look, Justin, for like these really fascinating, interesting things, waking up at early hours of the day, just to address like the first question you had. Yes, waking up, somewhere like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I used to do this every single day for Uncom. I was a farmer for about a year. The first year that I joined Uncom, I was a farmer. So I have 12-hour days, right? I start work at sunrise. So I'd wake up before sunrise to connect with Ben Watson and to have, calls with guys. And Ben remembers this. So I had an extremely high amount of dopamine when I was waking up at these times. So I can confirm from personal experience, like I know what low dopamine means. It's just depression, guys. And I know what it feels like to have high dopamine, to be extremely driven as well. So yes, you're going to get more dopamine at these times. The question you want to ask yourself is, what cost? Dopamine isn't an infinite resource. So if you're able to produce more, again, it's in your gut. Like that's where these neurochemicals are coming from. Serotonin, it's being produced in your gut. So if you're able to produce these things at a higher level, if your brain is efficient, which means like if you're sleeping well, if your sleep quality is very high, if your breath quality while you're sleeping is very high, then these things are going to work really, really well. But if you try and give that protocol to someone who has terrible breathing patterns, you try to give that protocol to someone who's already depressed, maybe on antidepressants or something like this, it's going to shoot them even lower. And they're going to wonder like, why? So I'd be careful recommending that to other people. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing to try for yourself. And after I got the breath locked in, that kind of thing helped me a lot.
Locked it in. You
yeah,
gotta
lock
lock.
it in.
You gotta lock in the breath.
Yeah, it's not 1% better, it's 10% better. Everything changes because everything works back to what is your baseline of breathing. The ability to recover is the key here. Good luck
Definitely.
touching space on a full inhale. Sorry. Yeah, I'll go for it.
No, we're gonna have to move on to Chris. I do want to add one other thing related to Justin's question was a guy Keegan put me onto, who's another Buteyko breathing guy, Misha Sakharov. He's a big proponent of, you don't need, he's like, you need maybe 6 hours at most of sleep if you're breathing well, sleeping correctly.
This is true. High quality sleep means you need less. You can survive on 5 hours. It's totally fine. But don't tell that to anyone who sleeps like shit.
Yeah. Chris is going to be sharing about sales. He's built success in business and training. He knows about taxes and a bunch of other things. We've had a few calls. He's a really interesting guy, and I've seen him adding value to the network by teaching what he knows in sales, and he's looking to take that to the next level with Scale Solutions and with potentially events. And yeah, so just excited to see what he has to share with us about this process.
Thanks very much, everyone. Great to be here. My favorite topic, money, making it, spending it on things that will make all of us happier in these new directions. So the part that I'm going to focus on today I have a 5-step sales process, and this is step 4. Okay, this is called the feature benefit response. So step 1 is your rapport. Everybody should be pretty familiar with that. Step 2 is an initial benefit statement where you're giving a clear, concise statement on who you are, what you do, and who you've helped so far. 3 is going to be questioning for their needs. And once you have that picture of their needs, you move into this feature benefit response. Okay, the feature is what it is that I or you have to offer the future client. Okay, the benefit is a quantifiable range of successful results from other clients that have used I or your services. And then this is where the response is their response of where in that range they want to see these results. Okay, so for today's example, I'm using some aspects of Uncommon, okay, that if I was selling Uncommon, what I might use. So in the assumption that somebody has athletic needs, I'm going to say for my feature benefit response is that using dense range and tendon secrets are cutting edge training programs for clients and coaches that have shown to improve top end strength anywhere from 5 to 23%. Where do you see yourself in there? Or muscular endurance from 20 to 35%. Or pain-free returning to pain-free movement of anywhere from 10 to 40%. So this way, that person is going to tell you how important it is to them or in those range where they see themselves. Then I'm going to move to, in our Lean Countdown nutrition program, it's a simplified nutrition program that will torch fat in 25 days, losing 20 to 43% more fat in the same time as other programs. Where do you see your fat loss in our Lean Countdown program? Okay, moving on to the richer. In the Discipline Action Brotherhood and DAB Elite, we have a group of uncommon men holding each other accountable on a daily basis, masterminding solutions and resources to drive meaningful action and take into more effective flow states, improving their business by 20 to 90%. And yes, I said 90 because some people never take action. And until they do and are held accountable, they've been able to get these results. Where do you see yourself in the 20 to 90%? And then on to smarter. With the Fluency Fast Lane, men have been improving their basic to advanced language capabilities and comprehension and conversation from 20 to 45% in X amount of time. Where do you see yourself? Okay, now this can be applied to any one of your programs, okay, any one of your products, but I'm not only getting the sense of their commitment to each one of these aspects, right? Because these are just the examples using Pro. I could easily do this if I was just like a regular personal training program, somebody focused on either fat loss or wanting to have lower blood sugar, have improved sleep, any of these other things. I can nuance it down and get into those ranges. Okay. And you know, I just want to make sure that we understand that in these ranges that you're explaining, they can be really big because, you know, people that don't use a trainer, they don't use coaches, they don't get anything done. They get 100% of nothing. Okay. So you're not being outlandish by saying you're going to get them 50% better results or 60% better results and things like that. So one, it's you're getting where they where they see their value in each one of the things that you offer, but you also are able to stack value after value after value after value so that you're really developing a very deep, high amount. Well, I guess deep and high are contradictory, but a deep amount of value. So when it comes time to get into next step 5, close, objection, close, you are now having some rebuttal information for if they start saying why, if they have an objection once you present your program, so that you can then go back and say, well, you say you don't, have the time, but when we talked about the discipline action brotherhood, and you're somebody that isn't getting anything done, now you see how we are going to be holding you accountable, and you are going to get it done. So you're knocking away their objection, and then you're going to go right back in for the close. But that's step 5. And that's, in a nutshell, the feature benefit response. The feature that your program has, the direct benefit that it will have for the person, and then a quantifiable range for them to select where they see themselves in that result. Any questions? Or if anybody would like to have their product used as an example here, we could come up with some feature benefit responses for you. Or if anyone wants to correct me on some of my percentages of improvement for the DABs, for Lean Countdown, Athletic. Oh, and another one, that if somebody isn't sure where to start, if we're still selling Uncommon, is the 10K builder, because athletes and non-athletes alike accomplish their goals of hitting 10,000 reps 30 to 80% faster than they ever thought possible. So if you don't know where you're starting, just start there, and you can believe in yourself.
Chris, that was awesome. I was wondering if you could break down feature benefit in terms of terms, like your deeper understanding of each one. So I think it would help as well.
The feature is just what it is that you are offering that is related to the future client. Okay, so if it's breath work, if it's nutrition, customized nutrition program, if it's strength training programs, if it is, forgive me, I can't recall the name of the skills training that the Gallagher brothers are pros in. The
Kendama.
Kendama, yes. Okay, or whether it's a reels or that kind of process. That's the feature, is what that is, what the person is talking to you for, right? Then the benefit is this quantifiable range of success that other clients have had using your product. Okay, so Ben would be telling about how they took their Bolt score from here to there. Andres would be saying how followership or likes, or how many people that were following them went from 400 to 4,000, as I've heard for people like Baptiste and Justin Mucci and beyond, obviously the 4,000 range. Okay, so that's just the benefit of who has already had success with your program. Okay, and then the response is their response of where they see themselves in that range. Okay, because some people you're helping at some levels, and then other people are getting greater. So by giving those end ranges, you can then let them select, oh, I'm going to be on the 50%, I'm going to be a high achiever on there. Or if they start saying 20% or taking to the lower range, you might ask another question, but at least they're giving you an answer. The whole point is that you can keep stacking value, so that they're not just getting 20% benefit in dense training. They're also getting a 30% benefit in leaning out. They're getting a 40% benefit in accountability with the, DABs, and they're getting 20% faster, and it's like you're just adding up value. So it just makes your pile of value seem that much greater than their pile of money, and they're happy to exchange it.
That makes a lot of sense. Does anybody have a product they want to do an example on?
Yeah, real quick with mine, specifically the pro offer for editing for people. I guess the feature, right, would be just simply editing the videos. Like you get X amount of videos done for X amount of time. And then the benefit, I guess that's where I'm a little confused because how it would apply to me, because what I've mainly been mentioning as a benefit is more qualitative, just getting rid of the mental headache of needing to learn how to edit your own videos. That's more qualitative. I haven't really touched much, actually at all, on the quantitative side. Although now I do have social proof, or just proof, with like Justin Mucci and Baptiste of like their followers grew X amount in X amount of time. So I can use that now. But is there a case in your eyes to use qualitative data as well, where I'm just saying you don't need to worry about editing anymore? It's getting rid of
Right,
the headache.
done for you videoing, done for you editing, saving your time, when time is money, to focus on this, to just get into connecting to more people, spending time on the either the sale part or the next phase of your business that is requiring your more direct attention. Okay. So absolutely. And that would just be into how you choose to represent all of the benefits of your done for you videos, of like, it's not just your keen eye as a specialist working with many different people and your solutions to penetrating deeper into the market, but it's also saving them the time to be the creative, to be the front man, and then letting the production be turned over to someone else. And then how that and then of course it really should translate at some point into dollars, right? That the amount of time you spent on sales calls, closing deals, or being in front of the people earned you X amount of more dollars than it cost them to pay you to worry about that. So it allows for really a variety of ways that you, and that might be your one of your features is the time saving, or the other feature is that it is your eye and your skills and your idea recommendation. So we don't want to just completely blow your powder all in one feature. There's actually several aspects of your product that has individual features that could be then put into a various measurement.
Okay. And just to clarify, would this be used for both like DMs and on a call, as well as like the sales copy on a page, or is this more geared for one or the other?
So to stick with my specific usage of this, I think it always has to be part of the sales call. And it seems like in DMs, various aspects of the sale are happening at different phases, right? Like somebody responds to your video and you're like, hey, what's up? And they're like, I fucking need this. And they're just like right into it. They're just jumping down your throat with something that's important to them. But if I got them on a sales call, I'm going to slow it down and I'm going to go back and I'm going to establish rapport first. Then I'm going to clearly identify what I do and who I've done it for and gain control of the situation. Then I'm going to question them for what their needs are, even if they may have said it. So this way I can re-summarize it for them and make sure that we're on the exact same page in case something was missed. And we don't know if they were talking to 3 or 4 other people on DMs. I mean, people are just very scatterbrained these days. So I'm going to then bring it back into having my process so that I can maintain control of the sales call. And also I'm going to know that if you can't take it out of order. You can't start moving the steps around and be more excited to tell them about the benefits that you have if you don't know and haven't asked all the questions to know what their needs are. And they're not going to tell you what their needs are if you haven't built a rapport, because they're not going to trust you, right? And if they don't know exactly what you do, they're going to be missing out on the product, or it's important to know that you're on the same page and that you actually are the best person to help them with their problem. And if they're looking for something else that you're really not into, then you're going to always do better business wise by just saying, hey, that's not my thing. And go talk to this guy and refer out, because you're just going to create a headache for yourself of getting out of a product that you know and can guarantee service on. And if you're making great recommendations, then I think that people will always return back to you and remember that. So I see it has its place throughout, but as a sales call, I'm always going to bring it back into my process to maintain that control and establish that professionalism that you are now in the driver's seat.
Gotcha. Thank you. That helps. That makes a lot more sense.
Chris, how are you thinking about finding the benefits? I know like Paul Council has a bunch of stuff about how the benefit is this peeled back layer of more of these like primal emotions. But how, is that how you think about it? Or how can someone like go from, okay, I know this is the result I can give the client. How do I know what the benefit is?
The benefit is is just aspects of the service that I'm offering. Okay. So if I'm having a fitness product, I can only talk about so many things in the benefits. That's why it's important to know if the things that I'm offering is what they're even in the market for. Because, we get into, we want to make sure that we're selling what they want. Otherwise, you really do need persuasion and you're kind of pushing shit up a hill, or maybe you're pressuring somebody into buying something that they don't need. And you don't want to be in that situation. So the benefits are really just, if you're offering, whether it's sleep, fitness, diet, reels, or, marketing advice, whatever, there's just a number of benefits that you will be able to offer. So it's not like I'm creating that at the time. That's just aligned with what I'm doing. I think you're asking a little bit more of, in the questioning for the needs, I'm going to try to find out that is there a way for me to tie in the benefits that I have to the needs that they have, and kind of get them talking to me and elaborating on it. Right. But this is all still like information finding. The questioning is the information finding and seeing what their values are. Then the benefits, the feature benefit, is going to be where they're quantifying how important it is to them. But it's actually all becoming ammunition for later in step 5, when you get into the objection close. So that when they say, oh, I need more time, I need this costs too much, or I got to talk to my wife, I'm going to already have my rebuttals coming from reminding them of what they have said during their question phase, in the rapport phase, or any of these other parts. Is that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you're not making it up at the time. You could see if they're just like really laser focused on the primary thing. I think that it's still in your best interest. Like, let's say they were only interested in fat loss. I'm still going to mention that they're going to benefit from, if I have like sleep training part of my product, or nutrition, or strength training, or healthy masculinity, whatever it is, so that I am over delivering and it will make my premium price sound small.
Yeah. Does anyone else have questions for, I guess, any of the guys who talked? Otherwise, we can just wrap it up. I know Keegan hopped off, so the recording ended. But yeah, does anyone have anything? Justin, you still locked?
We're locked, man. I'm about to go grab a steak. I've been on pretty much every single call. I don't know about everybody, but like, this has been ridiculous. I mean, it's so much information. I tried to write as much notes as possible. But Chris, that was great. Definitely some pointers that I had Yeah, Daniel,
Thank you.
Ben, that was awesome. Everybody's locked. We're locked.
Yeah, everyone but Andres really did well, I would say.
Andres is getting locked. That's for sure.
He'll get locked. He'll get locked.
It's good to see everybody hopping on. Seems like a
Sure.
good solid place to end it though.
He doesn't need to be good at presentations. He's good at making reels and starting to make
right.
money. So, and I see Dylan elbows working great. Thank you for your recommendations. Everything worked out well.
Glad to hear that. Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thanks very much. Thanks, Max, for hosting and putting this all together. And I'll talk to you later this week
Yeah.
and get ready for the next one.
Sure.
All right. See you guys.